out of DarkZero? Not yet. And we're waiting to. We are just desperately waiting to see these guys pop off and show what they're made of. Canadian could be gunning for
himself.
be the first person to win 3 Six Invitationals, to raise a hammer for the 3rd time. But it's a far cry. I don't think it's going to be possible, not with this DZ roster.
Yeah, Dev, we were like, he is going to be coming after that 3rd hammer. We've been saying that repeatedly. How do you think he's adjusting to this team?
Difficult to really give him much credence, sadly. It's been such a tough slog. Like you said, 4 months it's been, and the team historically struggles with roster changes. He is, though, however, reunited with BC, as you can see right there, the coach standing behind him, the original EG duo. So it's nice at least that we have a bit of a throwback there and a bit of a nostalgia. Sadly, it just hasn't come to form in the server.
Dev, you're so sweet. You're like, well, it's nice for nostalgia. And we do have our map ban information up on the screen right now, so tell me what you're thinking here.
Yeah, okay, it's TSM that has the first ban. They ban out Club, which themselves they have a 50% win rate on, and it's an okay map for DarkZero. I think if you start looking further with the cafe ban coming in from DarkZero, that makes so much sense. I mentioned it before, they lost against TSM in NAL twice on this map, and one of them even was an 0-0, an 0-7, so you don't want to be playing that map again against TSM.
Yeah, look, going to Villa, though, for TSM's map pick, statistically, this is a really strong one for them. They've won it 3 times in recent history. Funnily enough, one of them was against Furia earlier in the Six Invitational. They also won it twice in the North American qualifier for the Six Invitational. That was against Parabellum and One Shot LFO. Both not necessarily teams at this level, but both convincing wins. On the flip side, DZ actually just lost that to BDS.
Yeah, you could mention that this is probably one of DZ's worst maps, Villa, so a good pick for TSM, and, well, I hope that DarkZero can do something on this map. They, on the other hand, pick Coastline, and, well, they haven't really played that map as of recently. TSM has not played it either, and
their most banned map for TSM.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. TSM banned this map almost all of the time, so that is going to be interesting, not having seen both teams on this map a lot. As of recently, it is TSM with an Oregon ban too. That was the only map that they've lost against DarkZero in a previous game, and, well, I think the one thing we'll have to mention is DarkZero having the last say in this, and they banned Chalet, leaving Bank open, which is a map that TSM has a 100% win rate on, and
this is scary, right?
Yeah, that's confusing to me.
It's pretty scary for DZ here, just knowing, obviously, they already go in as the underdogs, funnily enough, despite having a number 12 world rank and TSM having a number 17 world rank. DarkZero are always going to have a struggle here, and the maps do back that up. Like you said, Bank being the decider. Should we get to it, which, to be honest, I don't expect us to. Even if we do get there, like you said, TSM are flawless. They played it 4 times in recent history, plus 24 round differential, and a 90% attacking win rate. I mean, in contrast, DarkZero, they really struggle on that map. They've only won it once in recent history, and they've lost it earlier in the NAL finals to Sonic, so it is not a strong point for them. If there's anything that you get out of this pre-desk seminar right now, it should be that TSM is absolutely favored to dumpster DarkZero in this series.
Dumpster? Oof. I was going to ask you all for predictions, but I think you've both been loud and clear here. It's not looking fantastic for DarkZero, but we shall see. Our teams are ready to go. So DZ versus TSM, Dez and Ace, take it away. Yes, I said your names. I love saying your names. Dez and Ace, Dez and Ace.
She did it again. Earlier on, she was like, you guys are like fanboying for me. And now it's the reverse, where she's like, oh, I love saying your name. Des and Ace, Des and Ace. Oh, thank God. You know, that's kind of what Jackie's like sometimes, isn't she? She's a great cheerleader.
She's the most amazing supporter. She's the most amazing supporter, Jackie. She's super positive all the time.
DarkZero may well need Jackie's support because it is looking for rough for them coming into this game. You've heard what the analysts had to say. Some of you at home may disagree, but given DarkZero's shaky form so far throughout the group stage and TSM looking on fire since the NA closed qualifiers, well, Tim, I think it's fair to say many are favouring them coming into this game. And starting on Villa, TSM's home map, I'm a little bit nervous for DarkZero.
I would be too. I think what's fascinating about this game, obviously it's the NA showdown, but for me it's sort of like the problems that NA have had in DarkZero, still kind of there, and then the solution to the NA problems in TSM and the performances that they've shown us. So it's gonna be a real clash here, but like you say, Villa for me is very, very important because I don't know about Coastline between these two. Like you say, we've not seen an awful lot of it, and I just think TSM are hitting shots at the minute, Des. We saw them 3Ks, 4Ks all over the place the other day, and I think they're going to be very difficult to beat on a frag-heavy map like Coastline. I do.
I mean, even on Villa, like the other day against Fury, you referenced it there. Round 3 was an ace coming in. We had a 4K from Bolo the prior round, and Achieve goes off. It's, all of them are getting involved and in the mix and really making big rounds count. But even when they aren't popping off, the team play is still stellar. In we go then to Villa for map number 1 of this final best of 3 of the day, unless you're also counting B-Stream. There are 2 going on at the same time. TSM versus DarkZero, a real NA classic. And you know what I'm most excited about, Tim? I'm most excited about the shouts coming from that side of the room when this gets underway.
Oh, there's no two ways about it. We're going to be hearing from these teams, absolutely, and they're going to be hearing from each other, I would imagine. I wouldn't expect anything less. Bands start coming in. It's going to be Flores to go first.
We spoke a lot about the Flores bans that we've seen over the last few days. Teams targeting it against specific teams that like using it. We've referred to, I believe it was Dan1Kia, use it on one of their maps about 80% of the time. But this is a spicier ban. The Sledge coming out. Yeah, I mean, we know that's a really popular pick for Achieved on this team, right? It's his go-to bread and butter operator. And given the nade meta that we're in right now, where Sledge fits into pretty much any lineup, that may well remove a couple of frags if you've got to bring along something like a Buck instead.
Well, we've seen the development of this, I'm not going to call it a frag meta, but we're certainly seeing a lot of frags. It's not the whole top and bottom of everything, but we're seeing success with them. We're seeing kills with them. Get underneath, use your nades, get them to explode just below the floor, and they get the kills. So it's going to be interesting to see this played out without. Obviously, there's still Finker, there's still Iana, there's still Maverick, there's still operators there that are going to bring along those gadgets in place of the Sledge. But on Villa, when you're on those lower floor sites particularly, you want your Sledge as well. So that's maybe going to get us seeing some Buck, or you could bring other soft breach options. Use your soft breach chargers, for example. Maybe an Ash creeps in. I think the Sledge, we're going to see here how important Sledge has become recently, in that we're going to see a few operator picks that we wouldn't normally because he's not there.
Tim, this is TSM's Matt Pitreich. So why have DarkZero chosen to start on the attack again?
Maybe they're confident, Des.
That's it. The mind game. We're confident. That's what you're riding on with this. Yep. Okay. I'll believe you. I'll back you on this one, but I imagine TSM were giggling to themselves with delight like a child in a candy shop at the thought of getting to start on defense here on Villa. We'll see how they start things off. It's inside Aviator and Games. The Bandit and the Mirror on side, also looking in towards that Frost that we don't see a whole ton on this map.
I mean, in theory, starting side shouldn't really matter. Technically, you do get the same chance.
I do hear this argument a lot.
But there is a big but here, and that's when that halfway mark comes. If you're 5-1, 6-0 down, that is not the same as going in to your defensive half 0-0. In reality, it's not. There is that mental proponent, but you'd still do potentially get that same opportunity. Heading into round 1 then, it's going to be Aviator Games. We're going to have the defensive, and as I said, some interesting pickups already. We've got Geo on the castle, we've got a Bandit in play, we've got a Frost on Charla, we've got the Mirror brought along by Merc, and I like what I'm seeing. We've got TSM stacking up towards the north side. Definitely playing into a potential DarkZero push from that side of the map, but Eclipse is getting himself straight up to join Hyper and NJ on the south side. Their lower floor, he's up a deck. He's going to get himself onto the balcony and start looking in towards Study as the setup continues still 40 seconds into the round for TSM.
This is probably more that adaptable setup that we saw coming in our game earlier on that we cast today, where it was about the 2-minute mark, where we had the team of M&M actually putting down their final mirror in the basement of Oregon. They were waiting to see where the attack came from. So clearly feeling they have a better idea on this one. That's why TSM have chosen to hold on to it until they get a sniff at where the attack is coming in. Either they've spotted a couple out on the Study balcony, or they've just heard the window getting smashed open and thought, you know what, that's a great return. That's what happens when you ban away his Sledge. Even if he's on the defense, he's going to feel a little bit stinted. Great first kill coming in, and a good start for DarkZero in the round.
It is a great start there, achieved suffering to time in there. It wasn't really misshot. He saw the arm as the nade was about to get released, but then the animation of releasing that nade just took him back into safety, and Hyper able to react very quickly to get the kill onto the Bandit. 5 versus 4 and a lot of pressure coming from that Study side, Des, and the thing is, that's DarkZero not playing into TSM's utility, so right now those reinforcements, mirrors, anything else on that north side is all for nothing if they're going to push in through Study.
These mirror windows have been cracked open, so life should be a little bit easier if you're on the side of DarkZero. We get towards that final 60 seconds and things are going to have to speed up. They're squaring up for a push to come in at the red stairs. Misses out on the Gon 6. It doesn't stop NGR from charging his way forward here with Hyper. The two big fraggers on this team stepping forward and looking to make magic happen. That line of fire straight through the soft wall. Down goes Geo. NJR carrying on his march towards victory, looking for a second. It's the mirror sat in sight towards his left on the other side of map's table. Bolo looking to come and hit them on the flank. Merc finding one onto NJR. No doubt the call coming in that yes, they are on the red stairs. So all Bolo's got to do is tuck in and wait for the next call to move to shut down Hyper.
DZ working well here from both sides, but Merc manages to level things up. Bolo finds Pamba, and this means trouble for DarkZero. Des, it was looking good. They were getting themselves into study. They had red stairs, but they never dealt with the north side. We talk about how that avoided the utility, but it didn't avoid the operators, and that is where they get punished from as Bolo moves back across. But Eclipse finds him, levels it up 2 for 2. Eclipse gets himself another onto Merc. This game is going to be explosive from minute 1. That much is clear. Pressure on the bar door. Canadian finds Charla, and DarkZero take their first attack on Villa. Hands up. Hands up. Who had DarkZero winning the first attacking round on Villa against TSM?
And who had Canadian being the one that wins the 1 versus 1?
And I don't believe anybody's got the hands up right now.
You just knew. As soon as I saw it was him stepping in for the fight, I was like, if he wins this, he's going off. And sure enough, turns to bark over towards TSM, basically saying, sit the hell down. We're here to play. Great first round from DarkZero. It did look a little bit dicey, admittedly, as the mid-round settled in. They had their push coming up red stairs. It sort of fell to tatters as Bolo picked off Pamba. NJR fell by the wayside. It looked a little bit thin on the ground. It came down to that very final 1v1 after a couple of kills swung their way, though. The Canadian, not normally the one you'd expect to win in a situation like that, but does closes out the round, and DarkZero find a critical attacking round win. Rather than repeating Aviator games, TSM are now going to step up to the north side of the map and will be defending inside of Trophy and Statuary.
Yep, going to switch things up immediately. Obviously not happy with what went on Aviator Games there. I like what DarkZero did. As I said, a lot of investment was made on that north side, and they just basically went up red stairs, cut the map in half instead. We're not going to play into it. They did lose a couple of lives from there, but ultimately, all's well that ends well. They had that split push coming in from north and south side, and it was just a little too hot to handle for TSM. Bolo's going to be playing underneath on the Valkyrie this time. Nitro in hand, so we may well find him keeping himself down there, looking for Nitros, but also potentially looking to just keep operators out of Kitchen and Dining, particularly for as long as possible.
They've lent on that Jackal for a couple of rounds too, and don't blame them at all, you know, it's a good flex operator to bring along here. Where you don't have the sledge on side, you can still do the work of opening up the floor underneath you with the ITA shotgun, the secondary that Jackal brings along in his arsenal. You also have the smoke grenades, and when you haven't got something like a Twitch on side, which we're seeing more and more teams bring, it's just a bit of added juice when it comes round to the execute. So 3 roles being filled by Pamba here, the Roamer Hunter, the smokes for when they go for the execute, and of course the gadget for dealing down with the Roamers overall. It's just looking good that he has so much to offer to the team.
NJR's looking to get himself into Kitchen and Dining, as suggested. He's going to be playing into Information, I would imagine, unless they manage to spot out the Valkyrie cameras that Bolo was down there placing. So there's going to be a little bit of information for TSM to work for, at least. Now, interestingly, Geo had himself positioned down on the main stairs. He was just keeping himself out of the way, and this could be a problem if he's not identified. He's actually moved himself up now into Study and Maps area, so he's not going to be too much of a threat to NJR down on the lower floor there. Pretty safe to do a little bit of work and start getting rid of some utility at the minute. No big challenge coming on the ground floor from TSM, Des.
Yeah, not looking to meet them, which, as I spoke about several times today, is a choice they've made, and they accept there may well be consequences. Consequence number 1, coming in towards Achieved as he eats a whole ton of damage off his HP bar as a grenade from below connects in. The second one, not quite doing enough damage, but Canadian knows that he's done a bit of a tickle on towards Achieved's health bar. By conceding it, they do enable this kind of play. The ITA from below, like I mentioned, coming out of Pamba. The shotgun, the grenades coming in, as well, from Hyper and Canadian. The impacts from NJR. Really, if DarkZero don't find a vertical kill in some sense here, or a way of moving defenders about without that Jackal, they're missing out on a massive opportunity that TSM have given to them for free.
Achieved is just on such low health at the minute, trying to play against that wall. We see Merc having to dip back as his Wamai Magnet is going to eat up that nade. Bolo eats up Pambazoo there with a headshot, finding the first kill of the round. That's going to be 5-4 in favour of the defenders then, but Hyper, beautiful little peek. It didn't need a headshot as Achieved was on low health anyway, but you know what? He's going to style it out and take it anyway. Levels things up 4-4. Bolo taking damage. Merc, however, is the one with the next lethal shot, this time onto Eclipse. 4 versus 3 DarkZero. 15 seconds left to go. Need to get moving. Cannot do it. Bolo, Merc, Geo. It's a trifecta of kills that rain in at the end of the round, and that's going to be TSM leveling things up, and the shouts, they're just as loud.
Well, Merc was so busy shouting he didn't get his fist bump, and he turned around like, wait, go, sorry, I'm sorry, come back. Too late by then. Pojo had moved on. He had other things to be dealing with. Some great shots coming in that round. The one from Hyper that you just saw on screen a second ago, absolutely beautiful, onto the gem that was Achieved's head. Got the shutout, and ultimately time ran a bit too low for DarkZero to be able to be patient anymore. We're forced to push in, and TSM get the closeout. We rotate now into the offside, so no AVG repeat coming in for TSM at all. Instead, just going straight onto the downstairs. This time it's going to be Canadian playing Jackal duties, and I expect you'll see him again playing on that vertical, making use of the ITA, because they'll need that in this round if they're going to be successful. They've clocked themselves to go into the offside because we've also got 6 breaching rounds in the back pockets of a couple of operators on the team, looking to help them open things up. I imagine that's the Ace and the Zofia.
Round number 3, it will be then, 1 apiece, and I mean, I think all of us are hoping for a little bit of an NA throwdown here. We want these teams absolutely wailing on each other, and it looks like we might just get a little bit of that action. DarkZero actually not looking too bad so far. They're on the pace, they're finding the kills, and it's been close for the first couple of rounds, down to the final 10 seconds there before TSM could mop them up in round 2. Round number 3 is going to see TSM defending on the lower floor this time. This is where we're really going to see maybe a bit of a difference with the sledge not being available. We would normally expect him to get into the top floor, open up all that floor. This time instead, as you can see, on NJR and Eclipse, they have both brought along those soft breach chargers. That's your alternative. They've got 6 of them. They get them in there, they're going to rip the floor up. They've also got the impact grenades for NJR as his special gadget as well. So there's a lot of work that can still be done on those soft surfaces.
Absolutely, yeah. Just doubling down on that point as well, because it's going to be the pivotal part. We said in the last round, really, they needed to be making use of the below, failed to do so, lost the round. I'm not saying it's the only reason, but it was definitely a key factor. You've got Achieved, who's lurking around downstairs here too, looking to cause a bit of trouble off towards the south side. More of a perimeter player than so much being on a full roam. He's just there to kind of be the welcome party, hand you a glass of champagne as you step in towards the site and say, welcome to the party, good sir. For who it is that he welcomes first and foremost, it's going to be down to decide in the next 30 seconds or so as they start stepping their way forwards. Even Merc may be able to give them a bit of a hint of, hey, these guys are coming from this direction, be ready, and look to maybe toss a C4 out to stop them.
I think it's important to mention what's at stake here for DarkZero as well. Of course, TSM going very well so far, but points in the group have been few and far between for DarkZero up to this point. They are in the mix with BDS and Elevate, fighting over that 4th position potentially, and who will go through to the playoffs. So DarkZero, every point matters here. Every map that they can win could be crucial. They've got another game to play tomorrow. It is going to be down to the wire for them, so really this is an opportunity for a good performance. It's a team that they're very familiar with. You know, they should know exactly what they're expecting coming into this one.
It's kind of BDS that warring with at that bottom side of the table as well, who I believe are playing on the other stream. So lots to be still said for this group. It's far from a closed case. It all depends how many points they can get from the respective maps they're all playing in over these 2 best-of-3s. They see the side of the arm. Canadian narrowly getting a bit of a tag down, but not enough to put any real threat onto Chala. Steps things away. About from that point, knows that he can challenge across as and when. Canadian losing more than he really bargained for in that exchange.
Pamba's still got himself locked into those red stairs. I think he's wanting to push into Memorial. He's going to do it, and he's going to take down Charla there with the F2. Moves in, gets himself an angle through to Laundry, which will allow his team to aggress forward. Meanwhile, Geo finds Canadian. We've just got them trading in either direction here. Bolo and NJR directly take each other out. There's the swing from Pamba, but the trade comes in again from Achieve. 2 versus 2. Eclipse in a position to potentially get the diffuser down here. He's got Hyper on the cover, and I think he might just stick this this, Des. He should have time. Achieve is coming in, but he's going to be too late. There goes the impact nade. He's low health, and he takes the death. It's 2v1. It's all up to Gio. About 10 HP left. He cannot even take a bullet here, and that is exactly what will happen to him as he steps through the door. Hyper finds the kill. DarkZero protect the diffuser, and that is going to be another round for the team in purple.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. It's where it starts to get spicy, because we came in again assuming that we wouldn't see DarkZero particularly holding a candle to TSM, not less because it's on TSM's home map, but because it's TSM versus DarkZero. But 2 rounds on attack out of the first 3 is a wonderful start. And just a heads up that we will have a quick tech pause here. Bolo just leaving the game to rejoin us in a second. He's had a small bug, but once that's addressed, we'll be back into the game in no time at all. We will return back to the start of the cycle, Ace. We're going into Aviator games, and hopefully TSM have more success this time round.
They just weren't able to stop DarkZero pushing into sight there. It was Charla in Memorial who just got absolutely gunned down by Pamba, who went in, and just all the pressure flooded in from behind. It just ended up, you know, all the strategy went out the window. It just came down to gunfights erupting everywhere, in and out of sight, people going down left, right and centre. Let's see who's left standing. And unfortunately for TSM, the 2 that were left standing were the 2 that had very low hit points at that time, and it really put them at a disadvantage when trying to fight back on that retake. We've got a game sorted out. We're back in now. It's going to be a quick turnaround. We're going to be Aviator games this time, with TSM defending this for the second time. Defended it back in round 1. DarkZero, interesting push. They came from the south side and they came from red stairs. TSM had invested a lot of utility on the north side to potentially stop a push coming from that direction, but DarkZero just didn't play into it. So I'm interested to see what TSM do with that this time. My guess is they're going to have a little bit less over that side.
Well, it more came down to that 1 versus 1 against Canadian at the end, from the 2 versus 2, not really going the way they hoped, to a 1 versus 1. So, although I really thought TSM had done the hard yards in the early to mid round and got the control they needed, they shut down the red push incredibly well with a good flank coming out of Bolo too. Ultimately, it counted for naught as the gunfights were being won by DZ. So personally, don't feel they've got to change absolutely tons here in order to be successful. Just don't let them slip through the net as you did previously, else you will get another earful coming out of Troy. Of that, I have no doubt, Tim.
The thing is, you can just see how much it means to him. You know, yes, he's won the competition before, but, you know, all that sort of stuff doesn't matter because he's here to win it now. That's the point. And it just bleeds out of him and it feeds into the team. And, you know, I'm sure that it really does get the pulses racing and fighting towards those victories, especially when you've had a tough start to it as well. And if you start feeling like you've got that confidence, you're playing better, you've fixed a few things, it's certainly going to drive you to do more. Now then, DarkZero looking like they are going to push into the north side this time around. There is some utility expended over there. We've got some reinforcements. We've got some players that are located in that direction, but they don't have the mirror to play into, for example, this time. There's a little bit less sort of active utility there.
Absolutely. I mean, with this full clear off to start with, yes, it means you've got more of the map to work your way through, but it also means you should be able to cover your backside. Here it's less about the backside, it's more about Merc already greeting them, because previously it was more perimeter play and looking to meet them as they got further into the building. But for Merc, it's as soon as they've stepped inside of the room itself, he's already looking to contest. They've whittled through a number of drones already for the attackers, but it won't stop Canadian getting the entry onto Merc. And with these 2 being the IGLs, that means more to Canadian than you'll ever know.
That's going to give them the advantage, 5 versus 4. Bolo still playing underneath, but I think Pamba's aware of his position here. He's just going to hold on this window for as long as possible. If Bolo tries to rotate or move across, luckily for him, he's going to head in a southerly direction. Finds NJR, but immediate trade there. Well played from DarkZero. Good team play. It's not ideal to lose NJR, but what happened there was the comms were instant. Bolo's killed me from living room, so then immediately Pamba knows he's moving away from me. I can get a freebie. In he goes, picks it up. Nice trade. Well played, DarkZero.
I feel like we saw more trades in these first few rounds than we saw in the entirety of M&M versus Empire early on today, where trade play was just not a thing. It often came down to the individual skills. So really interesting seeing the difference between this inter-region matchup and the one that we had earlier on today. With that control on the north side established, DZ can now start thinking about the execute. The problem is, Tim, they've only got about 40 seconds left to do it. They're going to be a bit forced here, a little bit get pushed in to say, right, you haven't got time to mess around here. Direct to site is the way to go. They're going to open up the vault and then potentially look to get something going on down 90, whilst Hyper, as he has done before, will be the one trying to force his way in through Aviator door. Achieved is on the downstairs, mind you, and I think he's still got a C4 in back pocket. Yes, he does. So they'll have to watch out for him, because if he's got a good read, good information on where the plant's going down, he could be lethal.
Achieved manages to Achieved manages to find Eclipse. A good kill for TSM to slow things down here. We've got, once again, a game that is going wild in front of us. Time is ticking away, though. Canadian has Diffuser. Doesn't even really have time to attempt the plant there. TSM managed to just burn enough away. The goo mine coming in clutch for them towards the end of that one. And DZ, they get no further ahead. 2 for 2. The thing is, you've got to look at it this way. They're going to expect TSM to get 4 rounds on defense. That's pretty much your benchmark for a defense on Villa. DarkZero have already got there too. They're the ones that have reached the benchmark. If they can find one more round here, it's been a successful attacking half.
Absolutely. And it's easy to look at it and say to DarkZero, hey, you guys are just too slow here. You're not getting the pace you need to. Look at the different layers of problems that TSM made for them in that round. The first one was them even trying to get inside the building. You have Merc inside Trophy and Stantry firing a bunch of bullets, burning through 3 drones, really grinding them down to a halt. Then they got in towards Red, and there was a couple more things to worry about. There was Achieved on the downstairs, for example. There was Hyper having to hold the Aviator door for them because they needed someone to be ready for a rotate to come in. By the time they got everything done, set up, control the top floor with a couple of drones downstairs, they were down to 40 seconds. They didn't have time to go and deal with the Chief, which is why he found the freebie onto the Ace when he came walking into the building. So I don't know if it's more of a bit of a one-directional focus from DarkZero, too site-centric and not worrying about those below, the perimeter rooms, for example. But that's where I think there needs to be some more control. But then I imagine the immediate response coming from DarkZero would be, with what time? There is essentially none left. 3 minutes does disappear before you know it.
Round number 5 then is going to see TSM back over on the north side. Trophy and statue area, site that they successfully defended back in round 2. They pretty much gave DarkZero the lower floor. We'll see if they choose to do that again. Maybe with that sledge being off the board, it is DarkZero's ban, but maybe it just gave them a little bit of confidence in doing so. Achieved is playing down there for the time being, looking to challenge on towards Laundry Door possibly, but he just dips himself away. But definitely going to be playing in that dining kitchen area for the immediate future, so certainly not giving up quite as much to DarkZero this time.
DarkZero really counted on this being downstairs itself as a site. I think because they saw how things went down in round 2, where TSM quite confidently won, I don't know, or just looking at how it went down in round 3 where DarkZero won, they were like, well, maybe they think they can correct things there and they'll try and bait us with a step back into dining and kitchen because it is available. They've got 9 breaching rounds on side. The IQ to use from below to shoot gadgets out through the soft floor. Again, just feels like they've kind of read into this a little bit wrongly, rather than expecting TSM to follow the same rotation of sites.
Pretty coy first minute so far, as there's not really been any direct gunfights, any challenges onto each other. DarkZero collecting information here, but you've already touched on time for them, Des, and they need to make sure that they're not letting it run away from them. We're certainly not at that point yet, but we are coming towards the halfway mark, towards that 130. You can see the drones still buzzing around at the feet of NJR. I think they're just still a little bit concerned for the potential of Achieve. They don't know where he is at the minute, Des. He's slipped away into the basement, and it could be a big problem for them. They're not droning down there. Obviously, time is a factor in that. Canadian's going to come in to join NJR and start taking those gadgets out, but Achieved could pop up and cause a problem at a moment's notice.
What I kind of see as an issue here is NJR and Canadian are on the downstairs. They've got the control, but they've still got drones going in ahead of them before anyone on the top floor makes a move. When NJR controls dining kitchen already, you don't need drones upstairs. Well, you do need drones, but you don't need to also be droning further in downstairs and wait for the all clear before you go in. If he's got control of that room, no one is going to see for you. Step forward, get to work on a wall, do something. Because right now, all 3 members of Pambazu, Canadian, NJR on the downstairs have been sat on drones for the longest of times. We're down to 45 seconds. They haven't looked to getting the triple wall opened up. Canadian's got himself below and I think has removed away the key gadgets that were slowing things down for them. But there's no Mute, there's no Kai, there's no Bandit. They've got to make the move happen.
Hyper does so in finding that first kill onto Bolo. That might just get things moving moving for DarkZero here. Could be the catalyst. They're starting to get that triple wall opened up. At least the access that they need. Achieved has made a little bit of mess of his flank there. He does make the challenge, but he runs face first into NJR downstairs and takes a ton of damage. Trying to move back up Astro. He will manage to re-peek and find NJR. That's great play from Achieve there. Hyper finds Merc with Geo onto Eclipse in the mix as well. Canadian 2v2, 2v1. It swings from side to side here. 3 seconds left to go. Hyper, no chance. TSM somehow able to hold on in the slew of kills that DarkZero managed to find.
I think DarkZero, I mean, I called it in the mid-round, they just made it a bit too predictable to know what was going on. Okay, they've opened up Master Wall at the 60-second mark. They've got no time to clear anything else. What are they likely to do here? Now, they're probably going to push in towards the triple wall and come in through Master Bedroom door. So DarkZero just sat them, sorry, DarkZero, TSM just sat there and said, if you want to come, then go for it. We're ready. You had Charla chucked in ready with the smokes. You had one or two of them, I think when you had, I think it was Merc who ran back up towards Astro stairs. Two of them challenging onto Astro window as well. It's just a bit predictable right now. TSM are reading DarkZero very, very well, responding to what they're doing. And on DarkZero's side, they're not doing what other teams have done, which is acknowledge there is a problem, such as a Roma, or that they are running short on time and going, okay, the risk we have to take here is we will step into Master Bedroom and start opening walls up and looking to make a play before we fully got downstairs control. We've got a player in there who can choose to fight someone. We accept that as a risk. They're almost following the checklist a bit too strictly here, Tim, and I think that's what's really slowing them down.
Yeah, maybe just need a little bit of flexibility within the round.
That's it.
Sort of make those decisive calls and just go with it. NJR was unfortunate there on the challenge. He got lucky to begin with. He was the benefactor, if you will, of the siege timing. He was just coming out of the kitchen at the right point when Achieve tried to make his peak, but then somehow on low health, Achieve come back for more and got that kill. And those are going to be the ones, those could be the fine margins, Des, that lose this for DarkZero. It's 3-2, it's close, it's tight. Every gunfight matters.
Here's a classic for you, Tim. A living library defense with an extension up and towards Aviator gains in the hold inside of Vault. Now, I'm not going to sit here and make bold claims, as others may have done, that Europe was the first to pioneer this, or saying that NA were the first to open a certain wall with Habana on Oregon. We have a little throwback to that one. What I'm seeing here is what we saw back in Europe, where I think it was Vitality and BDS were some of the first to pioneer this, where inside a vault you can open up some really good holes that essentially see down to the north side of Living Library. You can stop plants going down inside of the site, as Charla is wonderfully demonstrating for us right now, and stop any kind of north push from being successful. You can then always look to fall down the main stairs to contest anyone trying to push in for a south side plant. That's where Bolo's playing right now, and it just gives you really, really good, healthy control. Hyper has just jumped into Art Studio, by the way. If he gets the push through here onto Bolo, that breaks this whole thing wide open, so he's got to be very careful about where he plays.
Bolo has dipped himself away onto main stairs, just taking a prone position up so he can hold a tighter angle. There's two on the downstairs that are just looking to push a little bit towards DarkZero's lines, I think. The mirror being used just for trying to pop the drones out of the air. Still 7 drones available on the side of DarkZero, so plenty of information coming in for them. A couple of those will be Twitch drones as well, so that just racks the total up even further.
Double air jabs on that door as well, coming up from the basement. Beautiful stuff. I love the mirror window, by the way, here, because normally you're relying on those on the vertical plate to make this work. A smoke can deny everything. What a shot! Merc standing up and eating a face full of bullets from NJR. A second coming in as well. A much better start for DarkZero, Tim, because they've got 2 kills and we've still got 80 seconds to play. Beautiful
exactly
stuff.
What they needed there, just taking 2 down. 5v3, DarkZero can level this up at 3-3 on the scoreboard. Hyper just coming together with Bolo there. Both managed to escape with a similar amount of health. Charla manages to finish him off though. Pamba finds Bolo, so neither of them live much longer after that fight. 4v2, effectively 4v1. It's all up to Achieved. He can do nothing, Des, as Canadian shuts him down, and DarkZero managed to take a level half. 3-3 on the attack of Villa. Ooh, could this be boding well for them?
It could, and it's looking really good, right? I mean, it was good that they got the first couple of kills there because that set things in motion. You saw a couple of things happen once those 2 kills came in. First one is, they went a little bit deep in terms of Hyper. He went charging his way through the site, past the mirror window, and paid the price to Charla, who was still behind him in Mudroom, so not droned out to the west. At the same time, off to the east, inside Red Corridor, you had 2 members vaulting through the single window and start their push forwards. They were a little bit slow on making the action happen, and this is what I spoke about with I want to say it was Oxygen yesterday. They see an opportunity. Yes, it was Kino on this map. You see an opportunity, you charge through and get 2 kills.
Confidence Kino.
Confidence Kino. The other 4 members of the team, they spring into action. The second he calls, I'm in sight, I've got control. They all make a move. The rest of DarkZero there were a little bit slow on the uptake. Admittedly, we're probably saying, well, there's 3 left. Let's not panic here. Still take things slowly. But I was just a little bit nervous that Hyper might get himself caught out by going too deep. And sure enough, Charlotte did find one. Thankfully, was traded out and gives DarkZero a good 3 rounds in the first half. Now they switch on to the defensive side and now start things off in Aviator games with a very similar lineup to what we saw all the way back in round 1 from TSM.
Okay then, Aviator games, as you say, will be our starting point for DarkZero. We've got 2 over on the north side and a lot of utility again, just the same as was played into previously. DarkZero basically avoided this by coming up red stairs. Very similar setup though. We'll see if TSM give them the pleasure of heading in from that side or whether they decide to circumvent.
I want to say the second mirror is probably inside of Games Room. No, I can't see it on the wall looking in towards Study, which is normally where it would be. Maybe it's looking in towards Aviator. Yep, there it is. Thank you very much. Easy. It's interesting they've committed one all up towards the north side, and I believe they've also taken the Bandit up there as well, right? So looking at ways to deny away the triple wall, to give them a mirror facing in towards Astro. This is a lot of utility towards to dedicate towards trying to keep the attackers at bay. But TSM know, again, it's a problem they've got to try and deal with. So where the same sort of issue was created by TSM on the defense, they've now got to attack into one that's arguably twice as strong up towards the north. I just hope we see DarkZero back away in good time. They have no downstairs control, so nades can start singing.
Eclipse is going to find himself on the wrong side of one of those. He takes half of his health away there as Achieved manages to find his man, but just not quite close enough to be lethal. Canadian, however, could be lethal here as he creeps his way up from the basement. He knows that Achieved is operating underneath now after Eclipse takes that damage, so it's just a matter of time until Canadian decides to try and push himself into the kitchen to make the play that could end that vertical pressure from underneath. For the time being, TSM have got themselves good control of the north side, looking to aggress on into 90 corridor, and this is where they then start building pressure onto site itself, using that map's door, potentially even gaming room door, to get themselves on there and try and find lines onto those anchors.
That one nade from Achieved basically ended that whole roam in record time, blew up all 3 of the electric charges, put Eclipse down to half HP, and the team must have said, look, you've got to C4, just get yourself back to site as fast as you can. We'd rather you be alive here for when the push does come in. So good of him to back away. It does give TSM the agency now to start their push forwards, but the big bad Nadian, he's like a wolf, but one that gets put down by the hunter that is Achieved. A nice opening kill, and what would have been a very deadly flank has been shut down incredibly quickly.
A very important part of the play there from TSM closing out Canadian, because it could have been a big moment. It could have been very dangerous for them to have him moving up the flanks, especially with the time remaining, because TSM don't have a choice now really but to continue this aggression in towards site. Achieved, he's going to take the hatch out. He was hoping to catch Pamba with it, but he will be unsuccessful. Bolo, however, manages to find Hyper with an aid. Pamba's just put himself in the line of danger there, and Merc proves why as he finds the kill with the F2. NJR trying to aggress onto him, but Geo's getting the diffuser down right now. TSM are in full control here. 5v1 could be a flawless round. No, that will be avoided as NJR manages to find the melee kill onto Merc, but that is likely to be all that NJR will find. Taking a ton of damage in the process. More shots rain in. It's Charla that finds him, and that's going to be TSM with their first successful attack.
A very convincing one at that as well. Again, they dealt with the roam setup coming out of DarkZero in record time. This is the difference I was speaking about, where in previous rounds you saw DarkZero droning for what felt like a lifetime just to make the most simple of moves of stepping into a room or getting a nade in a key position. What do they do here? Straight inside, even knowing that you've got Canadian out on the roam, they get a nade underneath, force the mirror back and step forward from there. They have flank drones set up to watch Canadian. Otherwise, all their attention is towards the site. They hit it in good time, they find some critical kills and get the plant down. Much more timely, aggressive and pacey coming out of TSM than what we saw from DarkZero in the previous few rounds.
It was the split pressure as well, north and south side. Once they've got that in there, they've got Merc out on the balcony, and it just made it a nightmare for DarkZero. They are going to go back to Aviator games this time. Slightly different setup as they don't have the mirror here. It's going to be the Goyo instead. So I would expect to maybe see a little bit more attention to site this time.
Also got Canadian being the one stepping off the Bandit, giving that over to Hyper, who's been their go-to entry, and he will pick up the mantle of playing the Goyo. With the Jaeger and the Wamai on side, it does feel like we step back about... God, when was the utility meta really in full swing, Ace? Good, 6 months, 12 months. About 12 to 18 months ago, really, actually. Yeah, it was a good while back. We are seeing some iterations of this still in use, in the same way we're seeing Mute and Mozzie be a thing, but like you and I have really commended the dev team for, we don't really see an overwhelming dominating strategy anymore. It's more like in pockets or in niches on specific maps by specific teams. Makes it good fun.
It's more about having a style and doing it well.
Yeah.
At the minute, it's like anything it feels like anything can work. Yeah, feels like anything can work, and that's always exciting.
Which I love. What I do like about this is really, in a strange way, TSM have kind of put themselves into a corner. They banned away the Flores that would be the go-to counter to this kind of setup. Now they've got to deal with a lot of anti-utility. They've got to deal with shields as well. There are 4 of them on this side of DZ. They don't really have the tools outside of throw nades, of which they'll have to burn through ADSs, magnets, you name it, if they're going to be able to make good use of the utility they've got to clear away that sort of, utility on the other side. It's just utility versus utility.
Utility.
I've said that word so many times, I think I'm going insane. It could just be that it's been another long day, but I think I'm going...
I mean, it has been another long day. We do plenty of them at the group stages. We love it. We wouldn't have it any other way. It's exciting watching all the games, casting the games. It's always good fun. But we do get a little bit delirious sometimes by the end of them.
We can do. I know yesterday got a little bit wild. I was like mourning the loss of my iPad when it died on me. I was like, no, come back to me. It is fully charged today. It is more than usable for this series. Pleased to report. Let's see how things shape up. DZ holding on to the main stairs down towards the south side for now. Canadian coming up the other side when he realises, well, there's not going to be much use for a C4 given where TSM are pushing in from. Achieved has got that control downstairs once again, so even without a nade-bearing operator, he's got some damage. Bolo steps up but immediately gets traded out by Pamba, who's down to a simple amount of 5 HP, being pressured by Merc, but wins that fight and holds on to main stairs, keeping himself as the king of the hill.
That's what DarkZero needed, because all the pressure's coming to south side here, and south side you can't really push in until you've cleared main stairs, because think about what happens next. If TSM just go into study to try and get through to site, they're going to get hit from behind by the Jaeger on main stairs, so they have to get that cleared out. It's not an option really. DarkZero showing the importance of that. They're doubling down on it, Des. They've got Hyper there on the Bandit as well. They've got the Goyo shield in place. 55 seconds left to go. TSM, I'm not sure that there's a way through this for them. Ace manages to get in and clear out that shield. And that is as simple as that. Moves both of them along, but that fire's going to burn for 10 seconds, and we're going to find ourselves down to about 35 seconds before this TSM push can really find its teeth.
They haven't cleared out the shield as well on maps. Like, this one is a real bugger to deal with. If it's not dead, they'll hold this pixel angle, they'll sit someone behind it, and you become a little bit entrapped. We commented on it earlier on, but a great step in. Eclipse bringing down Geo. Probably a question as to why Geo's swinging by himself there, because the diffuser's now also down and cold. Charla looking to step his way through, wanting to use that shield against DarkZero, but it feels more like a bait, to be honest with you. They're looking at it thinking, oh, we can use that, and DZ are like, no, you cannot. Eclipse, a second great shot coming back through. Achieved is all alone. This looks to be a DarkZero round. A second swing at the bat, and they will be successful. A closeout by Hyper. DZ bring the score even once again.
Much better defense. Interesting that both of the defenses that stacked up the utility heavily on the north side were the ones that failed, Des.
Yeah.
The two that focused on site were the ones that managed to get it over the line. DarkZero leveling things up 4-4. It was a nice defense from them. TSM just lost too much when trying to take those main stairs, and DarkZero were able to hold on. So well played from them, and it brings us to 4-all, and you just know that this one is going to continue back and forth like this. Neither of them willing to give an inch. Looks like we might just have a timeout here. It is indeed going to be TSM taking that. Obviously just deciding they need to slow things down a little bit here. So far, there's only TSM that have had 2 rounds in a row. They won round 4 and 5 back to back. Other than that, it's always been alternate.
I did quite like the small moments of team play in that round from them, right? 2 pushing on the bottom side of main stairs to try and contest the 2 players that were there. At the same time, 1 swung in from study door to try and contest in the same direction. But Pamba, as I said, was king of main stairs, did not want to give up his land and held on very firmly. And that really decided the round from that point forward for TSM, whether they liked it or not. So here, clearly a few things they feel they can work on and get coordinated in time for these next few rounds. Not forgetting, this is TSM's home map pick. DZ coming into this game, many were saying, not particularly high expectations, but they are matching TSM blow for blow, and they're on the defense. It's not a bad place to be in if you're DZ.
It's not really, no, because as we say, you know...
Sucks to be a BDS fan right now.
We do, you know, expect to see the defensive side of Villa have a little bit of an advantage, but that said, it was 3-3 on the first half, so we never know. As you quite rightly touch on there, Des, this does affect the other teams in this group as well. As we said, we've got Elevate, BDS and DarkZero all sort of fighting over that sort of 3rd, 4th, 5th and jostling as to who's going to finish where. 5th place, of course, will go home after the groups. At the minute, correct me if I'm wrong, Des, but it is 1 point for BDS, 2 points for DarkZero, 3 points for Elevate. So they're all within a point of each other, if you will, or
Correct.
2 points if you look top to bottom.
Yep.
So very, very close. In a system that can give 2 or 3 points for a win, that keeps us tied up very, very tight. You know, every point is going to count here, and DarkZero currently sat on 2 points. You know, you look at it and think, wow, you know, if they could get the 3 points for a 2-0 victory here, put themselves up onto 5, you sort of think they're going to be looking safe for a 4th place then.
This is the difficulty, right? Tomorrow, you're going to have Elevate playing against TSM and DarkZero against Furia. BDS, this is their last game happening on the B stream right now. Whatever they get from here, they're going to have to stick with. It then comes down to the other teams and how things play out. In a way, TSM and Furia tomorrow become the deciders of BDS's fate, and that is a scary concept given how DarkZero are currently playing against TSM. Merc and Hyper to kick this round off are not too far away from each other. A couple of walls between them, but they won't know that right now. They will do very soon, I'm sure, when they start coming to heads on things. We are downstairs in dining and kitchen in case you didn't quite clock that just yet. Hyper moving his way back up towards the top floor. Well, up through top floor, back up towards being above the sites to join Pamba, who's trying to hold it down against the aggressors that are TSM.
Gio is just sat outside of laundry at the minute, around the corner. He's got diffuser in hand, which would suggest that is potentially where the final push, the final execution is planned to come in from. But obviously there's work for TSM to do before they get there. They're going to want to clear top floor, make sure there's no vertical angles to hold Gio away from getting that plant down, and also try and pick up any roamers that have extended into living room, library, or anywhere else in the map. But top floor is their focus at the minute. There's 2 players, I believe, from DarkZero up there. We've got Canadian just up and down red stairs as well. Eclipse and Pamba, indeed, I think, are both up on the top floor.
Oh, Merc.
Here we go. We could have a little mix-up between Merc and Canadian, but a Canadian just overextends, exposes his head, and Merc removes it for him. But Hyper, Pamba, they come in, trade and counter. Bolo finds NGR. Des, every round is like this. They just go toe-to-toe and punch each other until one of them drops.
That's how it feels. The IGLs especially. I swear Canadian and Merc just cannot stop meeting each other in these rounds as well, and it's always pretty early on. Traded out immediately there, Merc. As you see, both can now call for their teams from the back line. Not a bad spot to be in. Bolo almost finding himself gunned down from above, but still standing. 3 versus 3, and TSM have still got buckets of time to work with here, to be fair, Tim, but only 1 frag grenade left to their name.
Bolo, like you say, has got himself inside a sight there. He's potentially in a position to help Gio get this plant down. This could be a little bit cheeky here. He's watching the vertical angles, and that's exactly what Gio's going to do. DarkZero aren't aware of this, Des. They're doing absolutely nothing to stop it. But Eclipse comes over at the very last second and manages to deny it. There's a Falk cam feeding info as well. Bolo takes it out. He can collect the case and try to go again, which is exactly what he's going to do with only 15 seconds left. But this is not going to be easy. Still verticals to play against. He does, however, secure it. Bolo down very shortly afterwards. It's up to achieve. It's effectively 1v2. He flips to the Gon 6. That's not going to do him any favours, Des. DarkZero able to get in. Eclipse manages to get the disable on the diffuser there, but they might have been kicking themselves for letting Bolo get that down to begin with. It was only a fraction of a second afterwards that they were able to take him down, but one way or another, by hook or crook, DarkZero get it over the line.
I know you're the kind of man that will always talk about you didn't get the verticals, boys, and absolutely not. They just said, look, go direct to site, don't stop at go, don't collect $200, carry on your march. And to be fair, once you've got that lateral control, like, why not try and find a spot where you can get away with this plan? But you're seeing why it's so pivotal to have some form of vertical control or a way of denying it. DarkZero using the verticals beautifully and then rotating down red stairs to come for the contest. They find themselves 5-4 against TSM. And just like we've seen from most other teams at the competition so far, we're going to step into our fourth site. It's going to be Living and Library. All 4 sites being used by the majority of teams. I love seeing that amount of variety. So far, DarkZero have not stepped into Trophy and Statuary, so who knows, maybe we will go there next. At least in this round, you've got the Warden coming on side, so 2 shields on board once again. Couple of C4s alongside the Bulletproof. That Thunderbird, always an interesting one. We've seen so many varied uses where it's used out on the roam, somewhere all 3 are grouped together on site, and people just run through and...
I think it was Elevate that started with that one, wasn't it?
I loved it.
Yeah, it was fascinating to see the roamers just sort of dashing down corner alley as they just got juiced up by 1, 2, 3 as they ran past, and off they went again. It was like a little pit stop for them.
Get yourself refueled and back out on the roam. Yeah, absolutely. Turns yourself into basically having a base. It's got like a med center for you. It's incredible. Let's see, though, how things go. TSM really got to start bucking their ideas up here. They made a couple of trade-offs in prior rounds that DarkZero have then really pressed and taken the advantage of. For TSM, I expect a south side start here, pushing into study, breaking open vault, and forcing DarkZero off this top floor is probably going to be part of their plans, given how it worked out for them last time in the previous round. Spoiler, it didn't work very well.
Pamba just looking to maybe take a little bit of a peek and get aggressive for DarkZero there. That's maybe what they need, you know, just take a round by storm, just grab a kill at the beginning and give themselves that advantage while they try to hold on to Aviator Games.
Just grab a kill, Tim, just do it, yeah.
I don't see what the difficulty is. But after taking his initial shots, the barricade shot, he's not going to overcommit to it, and I like to see that. Nothing wrong with giving it a try, but don't overcommit. Pamba drops back and he's keeping himself on the main stairs. Eclipses inside of Aviator as well to try and hold them off the balcony. It's quite important is Eclipse's position at the minute, because he's the one that stops Pamba being rushed, basically, and when he's being challenged by Charla as well, he can't watch the study side himself, and this is the idea. You challenge main and you push into study at the same time. There's nothing that main can do about both, but Eclipse is there as an important part of that defense to hold them out.
Really get installed in here, but the difference again here that you're seeing for TSM compared to what we saw from DZ is whilst the work is going on above, Charla is also pushing his way into piano and looking to contest. So there's 2 things going on at the same time. You're not waiting for one to finish before starting the next. That's the thing that I felt DarkZero missed on some of their attacks. Hyper here, hoping to be able to swing himself out. He's just got the angle basically lined up. Then if the man sat down at the bottom of 90, you can see him here. Surely you can see a pixel of a leg or something stepped out, gets drone through. Now the push starts to creep up. It's Merc coming in for the challenge. Will he see the man? Yes, he will. Hyper didn't expect him, and he's going to lose it out. Merc to get one, but yet again, he has been traded out. Every time Merc finds an entry, there is another member of DarkZero there ready to back up the unfortunate benefactor of the death prior to trade it back the other way. Now TSM stepping on the gas, find 2 more, and a 4 versus 2 kicks in.
Getting broken into pieces right now, DarkZero 2 versus 4. As you say, trades is something that they've done very, very well, Des, and if they can continue to do that, it at least keeps them fighting in it, but this one, it hasn't been possible. Charla's going to find Eclipse now. It's all up to NJR in a 1v4. I'd expect TSM to think about how they can get inside a site and start getting that diffuser down. The nade goes in. It's going to force NJR into a dead end here, Des. He's cornered, and that is when he may just be most dangerous. He's full health on the smoke at the minute, but he's being held from the hatch. There comes the drop. He manages to get him, but that now leaves them aware of exactly where NJR is. Gio's getting the diffuser down, almost certain to be successful. Flashbang is out, will not catch NJR, and he's trying to fight out of a box here, Des. There's absolutely nothing he can do. He's got lines of sight onto him from both sides. Bomb chassis shuts him down, and that's going to be TSM closing it out on the bottom floor.
5 apiece, keeping it even, Tim. That magical word overtime feels like it's going to start looming over this game any second. We are guaranteed to see all 12 This one, a little bit better coming out of TSM. I mentioned how they were looking to do multiple things at the same time. They were taking control in certain areas or getting control up above at the same time. That just kept the side of DarkZero a little bit stretched, but I need to come back to it. That's the third round in a row. Merc has found the entry and then been traded out straight after. That is a really good sign for DarkZero that they're playing together, always in close proximity of each other. In fact, I believe it was Pengu who once said, generally you should always be within 3 seconds of each other so you can play for that trade.
That's it. It's important. I think, the LATAM teams excluded. It's something that everybody, I say excluded, it's something obviously the LATAM teams can do as well, but we do know that the LATAM teams, they play a little bit more solo because they are very confident in their mechanical skill, and they will quite often win the 1v1.
Empire are exactly the same.
They'll quite often win the 1v1 gunfights. If you're that style of team, you can sort of get away with it, but like you say, you still really are going to benefit. Even if you don't necessarily need, you're still going to benefit from that close contact with somebody else.
I mean, think about it. Empire do it, M&M do it, Na'Vi do it with Doki, for example. There's a lot of teams that do play that kind of independent entry, the one who wants to push forward, go aggressive. Just like how, again, we're seeing these different stylistic tendencies between different teams. Aviator games, we step into. For round 11, will TSM take it and move us to match point, or will DZ take it and move us to match point? You'd rather it be TSM here, I'd say, because otherwise you're looking at a defender advantage, knowing that TSM are then going to attack a site of the choosing of DarkZero. They could go to Dining and Kitchen again, or they'll be able to go into Living Library, or they could step into Trophy and Statuary. That's a lot of choices they have on their side with which to try and bait TSM into a less than optimal lineup in exactly the same way that TSM caught DarkZero with those 9 breaching charges attacking a top floor site.
Merc and Achieve stacked up near the laundry. Bolo looking over towards the Astro window for the time being. So I would expect to see some north-sided pressure with a little bit of underneath vertical play as well. Pretty much stock standard for what we've seen so far. Bolo's not messing about here, Des. He gets himself inside. Just going to complete that reload so he's ready to go and looking to move through now. He's got a drone going ahead of him. We've seen this from Bolo before. He picked up a 4K when he did it previously against Fury. And now they've also just picked up on somebody playing underneath. It's going to be Canadian on the Ella there. He's been spotted out and it's maybe time to get himself out of dodge, but the challenge comes in quickly from Achieved. And this is something TSM have been doing well so far, Des. They recognise where somebody is and they get somebody there quickly to deal with it.
It's either a flank drone or they're actively droning him. It's not so much they're committing people to go and hunt him down, they're just letting him come to them, but always making sure he's being caught out by drones. It is really, really good to see coming out of TSM. Bolo's got himself on 90 now and starting to work his way forwards. Droned in by Geo. Again, something else this team has done very well throughout the competition is this droning in your big key entry players. For now, he's in a pretty key position. It's on the rest of the TSM team to catch up. Achieve sat in study. So slowly they are boxing in these site players of DarkZero and looking at what the next step is going to be. For now, it's clearing out Volt, sprayed through the drone hole, not going to find himself going down. If they're not careful, DarkZero Clips might be in a spot of bother here. A grenade rolling over the top, not connecting onto the man, but the wall is at least opened up.
More Habana pellets will be applied to allow proper access into the vault. 90 corridor now being pretty much completely in the control of TSM. Canadian still active underneath there. He's not actually moved himself back onto a flank yet to be able to make a challenge. 45 seconds left to go and time will not last forever. He needs to think about doing so at some point. Eclipse has been forced out of vault here, so he's just trying to front up and play right onto map's door, but it's not going to be easy. He's supported by the smoke and he's in a tough position now. He's backed into a corner. Merc is going to go in. He knows that the man is there. Merc's going to take a ton of damage as he takes a lungful of that toxic babe canister, and the ping comes in to let him know where Eclipse is playing. He gets the kill. Charla finds one. NJR manages to finish Merc with the toxic babe canister. 4 versus 3 now, and it's up to TSM to try and get in and get this diffuser down. They get a kill. Can they get another? Yes, they can. Geo's planting. TSM, they might just do this at the finish line as they're looking towards that map point, and they're going to get it. It's Bolo pushing them onto 6. One more round, TSM. One more round will get you Villa.
They're looking really good so far. These last couple of rounds especially have really warmed into things. Again, they've now got to face against an entire 4-map choice or 4-site choice coming out of DarkZero. They're going to take a timeout. They know that one more round means they get themselves through to overtime, and that is where things can really turn on its head. They have that choice of sites. They've got a good amount of time to have a discussion on both teams here about what is the game plan here, how can we surprise the other side. We'll see what the impact of that looks like in just a moment. For now, it looks like more of a chat amongst the team themselves rather than BC weighing in, just looking on it as players, knowing that Troy is in control here as the IGL and they can figure this one out.
Well, we've got to look back to the last tactical pause as well, which came in from TSM. It was just before round 9, but of course, when you take a tactical pause, the other team get the opportunity to speak as well. It's not just down to the ones who take it. And on the back of that last tactical pause, DZ came out and won the next round. So they've shown a capability to, use that time well, to see exactly what's going on and to come back with a plan. So, maybe they do that here and they come back into round 12 and they can manage to take us onto overtime. That's going to be an achievement against this TSM side who have picked Villa, who are good on Villa, and DarkZero are really stretching them here, possibly pushing them all the way into those added rounds. At the minute, it's going to be the 12th round. We're just about to get back into things here, and I think we're going to be playing Trophy and Statuary as our last site.
Interestingly, DarkZero haven't gone here yet throughout their half. They've been to AVG 3 times, they've been to Dining and Kitchen, and they've been to Living and Library. So I hope TSM are ready for something a bit different here, because this one they may not have seen for a while coming out of DarkZero, given it is one of their least favourite maps. It's worth stating for DarkZero, although we're all sitting here doubting and saying, oh, surely they can't beat TSM. To them, I doubt they really care about upsetting expectations. To them, it's about the points. As a reminder, we've already touched on it once, they are stuck in a dogfight with Elevate and BDS to be a team that makes it through. For every map that you win, you get a point. If you go 2-0, you take 3 points. The lion's share all comes your way, and it can be a great way to keep yourself going as we hear cheers once again erupt on both sides of us, some from the casters, some from the players. Sounds like a very exciting game over there as well, Tim.
Certainly does, Elevate and BDS. Of course, I mean, it's worth mentioning, if Elevate win 2-0, none of this is really going to matter for DarkZero in terms of qualification. If that's the case, then BDS won't collect any more points. They don't play tomorrow. They won't be able to catch up to DarkZero. BDS will be confirmed in 5th place in the group if Elevate can win in 2 maps. So DarkZero really fighting for their life over there.
I've just heard as well about the score that happened over there. Elevate won 7-2 against BDS in the first map.
So it's do or die for BDS now. 1 point will tie them on points with DarkZero, but probably not enough because obviously they had the loss to DarkZero. So I'm not going to say that it actually confirms it at this point, but that's somebody else's job to do. But it's certainly looking dire, is what I will say.
This is where now TSM don't just become the kind of adjudicator. They now become judge, jury, and executioner tomorrow, because BDS need to win 2-1 to get 2 points. And even then, that doesn't catch them. They can't catch Elevate now, I don't think. No, they can't catch them.
No, they can't. No.
So, DarkZero have got today and tomorrow to get 1 point. It's done, Tim. I think BDS are.
Give or take.
They are actually done. If DarkZero win a single map in this series, BDS are done.
DarkZero are trying to do exactly that here in round 12. They're trying to keep themselves alive and push this one into overtime. It'll be a best of 3 rounds if that does occur. DarkZero on their final defense. Eclipse has taken himself all the way down to the basement. TSM currently looking to push themselves into dining room and kitchen and try to get some ground. Charles has taken some damage along the way. He's the only one. He's just below half health on about 40 HP. Hyper currently holding on behind 2 deployable shields, trying to make it as difficult as possible for TSM to get into bedroom. Oh no! He's found his way into one of those frost mats. He may be picked up, but NJR goes in for the finish. Merc does start things off just prior to that with a kill on Canadian though. 4 versus 4. And TSM, they're hanging by a thread here if they want to win it in 7.
They've got rid of Canadian at least as well, so sort of a 1-for-1, but you've lost Bolo. You've lost his nades in this case, died with both in back pocket. You've lost the Finker Juice that has helped them quite a bit throughout these rounds. It's stinging. And now Geo, down to about half HP, swung onto by Hyper. It's looking a little bit dicey. Trying now to get these off the wall, can't remove every single one, so 4 will go through. Now it's about holding down to Masterware. There are 2 or 3 members of TSM starting to crawl all over it like a spider over its web as they start to close in on DarkZero.
Just applying those Wamai magnets liberally there to just try and catch as many throwables as possible that might come in so they can continue the defense. Caught out from the red stairs though. Eclipse, I picked him out at the beginning of the round in the basement. He's coming from behind. Can he get himself another backstab? Probably not. He's been spotted out. He finds Geo for one, and that is now all down to Merc to do this on super low health. Picked up by Hyper, and DarkZero in the round. Des, we're going to overtime.
Oh, I've been dying to hear those words all day, Tim. So glad it's come out here and now. DarkZero, they have to attack twice. Not that it matters too much, because across both halves, we've seen a 3-3 split. The two teams, you can't separate them no matter which side they might be on. But TSM, they get the choice of sites here as well. That can arguably be the difference maker. They're going to start things off for us inside Trophy and Statuary. It's like throwing all the way back to the start of the map. On map 2, we saw a castle setup coming in. We're seeing a castle here once again, and TSM love bringing that mirror. That's going to return along with the Jackal.
Right. Trophy Statuary for TSM. Let's have a look at TSM's defences on Trophy Statuary. Round 2, round 5, both of them successful, Des. They were able to just sort of handle DarkZero, I think is the best way of putting it. Round 5, it was a little bit slow from DarkZero. They did manage to get themselves a flurry of kills in the mid-round, and that seems to be always what it came down to for them on this site. It took them a long time to prepare, but then they were just sort of scrapping in the mid-round for what they could get, and TSM able to hold on. Let's see if they can do the same again. Bolo is going to be out there just applying some cams to study, so there's going to be a presence on the south side. Maybe Merc himself achieved his coming over. Bolo was just there for the utility of the job. Geo's going to be castling off the closet, so again a focus onto Master from TSM as well. They know they're potentially going to face pressure from all sides, basically.
Going back to the issues I had with DarkZero in the first half. Not being willing to step into the next phase of the round before the current one has been complete, i.e. they took a long time to get downstairs control, and only then did they really make a move up on the top floor. I want to see him channel some of that TSM energy. Be willing to take a couple of risks here. Don't worry about the roamers. Get flank drones on the go and deal with them when they come to you. It does, of course, require you actually watching those drones, and that's another issue altogether in itself. But pace is what I'm looking for here. They're starting things out on the south side. 4 members all pushing in from the study side of the map and being contested currently by Achieved and Geo.
Geo just very quickly opening up some last-minute holes there with the shotgun to give himself the angle. Out comes the Nitro. Hyper manages to avoid it. Canadian, and he can continue the push into study, but they're going to have to deal with Achieved and Geo. Geo's just making himself a little bit mobile. He's actually going to drop back to elbow and push into short in 90. Just relocate himself a little bit, but he needs to be careful because Pamba is on red stairs at the minute and could be a thorn in the side. He's got himself back to site. Merc is going to drop back as well, so it's pretty much all on Bolo underneath at this point.
I think Pamba was hoping to catch Bolo on the retreat back through red, but he's taken the long route round, gone up through Living and Library instead, and will just come back up Astro stairs. So a good fallback. You've drawn in a bit of time. You've drawn utility, like the Ace Salma's coming out, for example, an EMP. Started well for them, and they've lost no one in the process. So a good start for TSM. 90 seconds left for DZ. They've got to get a wiggle on now, Ace.
They really do, like you say, time ticking down, and they're not really in control of anywhere in the map that they need to be. Bolo takes the jump out. Can he get his man? No, Canadian just reacts quickly enough and takes Bolo down. That's the Valkyrie gone, and that's advantage DarkZero. But as we've said, Des, time has been the issue for DarkZero on the attack sometimes, and it could be their downfall again. They need to get moving, get control, get confident, and start pushing towards site. Coming into the final minute, it's advantage DarkZero, but it is a fine margin.
Oh boy, Canadian finding Merc as well. Again, the IGLs just keep on clashing throughout this fixture of 5 versus 3. No Achieved, a massive 2K coming in on the jump out, catching them completely unawares and equalizing things once again. 40 seconds to play. This is where things can fall apart for DarkZero. They've lost 2 of the big members in this round that they really needed to be counting on, and it will come down to NJR, Hyper and Pamba, the 3 more fraggy members on this team, to make a difference.
They've got to find the frags. That is the key here, Des. Des. Pamba moves through. Can he find Castle? Absolutely not. Geo takes a lot of damage and then is put down. Hyper moves on, looking for the next. They're not interested in confirming kills right now. They want to confirm plants. Achieved knows where he is, sees the gun barrel, but NJR and Pamba, they've got the cover, Des. They've got the kills, and they've got the round. Round 13 goes to DarkZero. They are ahead once again, and they could finish this off on the defense here and now.
Like I said, Tim, they need one map in this series or tomorrow's series, and they will be through to the playoffs. They are one round away after so many looked at them in the first 2 or 3 play days and said, what is this, DZ? Why are you playing like this? It's not good. Well, it doesn't matter whether you can see it as good or bad. They're about to secure a spot in the playoffs. Of course, the actual position is still to be determined. They could hop up towards seconds if things carry on. But right now, they've got to focus on what's in front of them. And that is this round, round 14 in Aviator Games. If they win this now, God, they'll be having a nice little relaxing time in the break, I guarantee you, because someone will probably grab them and say, boys, you've done it. You've secured your spot. Now go out there and get more points.
The thing is, when we get to the end of group stages as well, you look at these games, and quite often we talk about games that, in terms of the standings, don't always, mean too much because standings might be locked in. But the point is, in a tournament like this, it always matters. It's always important. Because we've said it before, and I'll say it time and time again, I'm sure. Winning is a habit. No game here is meaningless. You don't come into your last group game thinking, oh, we don't need a win here, it's fine. Because that loss before the playoffs could be the one that just breaks your momentum, that just breaks the mojo of the team. So you really do need to just keep pedal to the metal, keep going. If you're finding wins, keep on finding them, because it is a habit, it is a mentality to just keep that winning rolling. You've got that belief then that no matter who steps into the server with you, they are going to be beaten. Merc is going to take a few pot shots onto the study window there, not catch anybody. You never know what you might find through a barricade, so it's always worth a couple of bullets. We do see it occasionally, but for the time being, DarkZero keep themselves safe. They're going to try to lock this one out here and now.
Sure enough, Shell. Looking on the defensive side, once again, it's Canadian off on the roam, by the way. That Malusi just stuck in Narnia, somewhere underneath the rest of the map for the rest of the team. DZ actually playing quite tightly packed together for once. There is no extension up towards Trophy and Statue. There is no roaming below with a C4. There is no intent to slow TSM down, so DarkZero, in a way, just kind of conceding the map to TSM straight out and saying we'd rather play this one a little bit more safely. We're confident we can win on the site itself, so why risk losing a member or two out on the roam? It'll be about chewing through these drones. That's going to be a big thing for them. They've just found 2 in quick succession, but the more you starve TSM of that information game, the better. I'm not concerned about TSM's time use here as well. We're still a minute 45 on the clock. They're just about getting themselves into red landing. Bolo looking to push his way down 90 once they manage to force these members a little bit further back, and there should be no point of concern.
Halfway into the round then, don't have an opening kill yet. Hyper back into Vault, TSM take 90 corridor, pushing onto Elbow, and their attack is going well so far. Pretty much the same as we've seen them do previously. They'll try and get Geo down here with the Hibana, more than likely open Vault, make it difficult for the defenders to play inside of there, and then try to push Map Store and get the diffuser down. But there is certainly work to be done, but Bolo might just be able to find one here, Des. He spotted him through the drone hole. Doesn't quite get his throw right. It just bobbles back at him, and Hyper, he lives to fight another day.
Have to work on his pitching arm there a bit, I think, Tim. Hyper still sat in present. They need to get this opened up, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't just spray the top open and at least force him out of Vault, because that would make life a little bit easier. Another impact comes through, blows it off the wall. They've still got 3 impacts to play behind. This could be a real war, but Pamba has his own war going on downstairs. It's achieved, taken off the board. A great start, because that's the buck as well, Tim. They can't open up the floor so easily anymore.
Absolutely not. They're going to have to maybe find an alternative here. As you say, the impact nades just continue to come out. 30 seconds left to go, and they can't keep dedicating time to trying to open Vault. Hyper is going to take a lot of damage, though. That forces him back away from the challenge he was making onto maps. Merc just looking to clear out utility from behind that Vault door to clear out the plant spot. He takes his shots into study. Not going to find anybody at this time. Pamba! No, it's actually NJR that gets the kill. NJR with another. Charla finds Pamba. NJR with 3 days. DarkZero are riding into a Villa win on the back of NJR here in round 14. Bolo goes in, spraying with the LMG, but all that happens is the clock ticks down, and DarkZero take that round, take the map, and take a first step towards victory against TSM.
Not just that, Tim, but most importantly of all, they guarantee themselves a spot in playoffs. BDS will not be able to take them out of this position, and with Elevate taking one away from BDS, they cannot catch up. BDS are done. DarkZero, what a recovery against a team that no one had you winning, not alone least on their own map choice. It was Villa being picked by TSM, yet they've come in, 8-6 them, and this could be the start of something beautiful, Tim.
It certainly could. They're going to be going into Coastline for the next map, and it's something that's a little bit unknown from both teams. We don't see a lot of it, but it's going to be an absolute brawl, of that much I am certain. But what a finish for NJR there. 3 kills at the end to just drag that one over the line.
I got so excited thinking it was Pamba that hit that shot as well. I was like, if he'd hit it, it was an absolute screamer, and my scream was justified. I'll take it with NGR getting the shutdown at least as well. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. That really does beg the question now, going into the next 2 maps. Could this be a 2-0 to DZ? They're looking pretty good.
You wouldn't have thought it coming into it. Obviously, DZ have struggled a little bit so far, but I love to see them waking up now.
Well, it's the time to be waking up. No more snoozing for them. Again, it's all about the impact this has on the playoffs as well. I know that it kind of already decides the group, but it sends a message if you're a DZ fan or a TSM fan, or even just a global fan. You get to see a good bit of siege between these two NA teams. We'll go to a quick break, and when we come back, map number 2 awaits us all. Welcome back to TSM versus DarkZero. We have just seen DarkZero defy expectations and win 8-6 on overtime on TSM's map pick of Villa. Now, we go into a map that we very seldom see these teams actually play, Tim. It's going to be Coastline. And if we weren't already seeing enough of a frag fest on Villa, we're about to get double that on Coastline.
Absolutely cannot wait for more of this. Villa was just like a slugfest. They just went at each other so many times in the mid-round. It would be 4v4, 4v3, 3v3. It was just back and forward, unreal. I mean, you can see it from the stats in front of you. Look at the kills. Bolo down to Charla, 12 down to 9. Hyper down to NJR, 11 and 10. Like, everybody was getting into it. Was just like one massive team fight, and just everybody had to just get in there and take swings. It was brilliant.
I do want to touch on Merc's entry stat of 4 and 2. Looks impressive in isolation, but got traded out in 3 of those. So it was like, oh man, that's a real sucker. You know, good response from DarkZero as well to shut him down pretty early into most rounds. Did mean he could IGL from the cams, but he made at least one gun, was offline and no longer involved in the game. Looking forward to Coastline, Tim. We leveraged a bit of criticism towards DarkZero around timeliness, that they were leaving it very late in some rounds. I touched on this for Empire early on today. As a team that struggles with time as well, Coastline felt like a very good map pick for them. They then step in and get absolutely fragged off the server by the Marshmallows. So it isn't always a good sign. Doesn't mean everything will go absolutely right, but you get a sense DarkZero, they could take this. They could take a 2-0, and what makes this really interesting then is the whole group opens up, because if DarkZero win here, they are 1 point behind TSM, who currently sit in first place. This group has still got so much to settle tomorrow.
Honestly, I absolutely love the group format from this year. Absolutely love it. It's like we're coming into the final day. There's still so much to play for, still so much to be decided. Teams are absolutely at war with each other, and we haven't even got into the knockout phases yet.
That's it.
Unbelievable, Des.
It's unbelievable, Des.
Bans are raining in. It's going to be Thatcher that kicks us off. No surprises there. Who will be our second attacker? TSM taking out the Flores. Pretty popular so far.
I keep on saying it, Tim. It is an increasingly popular ban. More and more teams taking it away. You know, Lems on BDS, who are now knocked out, in case you missed the news, often said, you know, it is the strongest operator in the game right now. You've got to be fearful of him. I wouldn't be too surprised to see bans coming in, and that's exactly what's happening here at SI. Valkyrie, a very common ban. We didn't see it banned away in the last map. It was picked up in about half of the rounds. And the final ban coming in from DarkZero, maybe a mirror, maybe not. It is definitely a mirror. So the C4 is offline, the Black Mirror is offline, everything taken off the board there, where she can make some sites incredibly hard to get through when you've got this questionable presence on the other side. It's like Schrodinger's wall. Is there someone behind it? Is there not? Only way you'll know is when you swing it, and they're going to swing you back.
If they're there.
If they're there. But you just don't know. Only until you swing it do you know. Unless you're drone it and you're a good Siege player, in which case, fair play.
First out is going to be Penthouse and Theatre, one that we don't necessarily see too often, but has crept its way back into popularity. basically after the changes that we saw to Coastline, we did have some recent attention to the map. It wasn't huge, but it was enough to just change up the flow a little bit. We made a couple of the windows smaller, changed the service area and where you can plant for service kitchen, things like that. Yeah. And Penthouse Theatre did come back into it a little bit because VIP is now more defensible. You'll notice if you're just coming back to Siege and you're saying, what's the other changes? Well, the VIP window is gone. The double window is no longer there. And if we hop over there quickly, there we go. Thank you very much.
You're making Easy overworking.
I know,
feeling well.
I know. Easy did tell us that before he came in. Thank you very much for your speedy reaction there, Easy. It was just so that we could see, at the time, Pambazoo was reinforcing the wall. It's been made into a soft wall that can now be reinforced, and it makes VIP much more defensible. Quite often, I'm thinking a Kayak on G2 through the EUL stage. We'll quite often see somebody play in there, electrify the wall, and just really try to hold on to it. And if they do, it makes Penthouse Theatre a lot more defensible.
Well, Easy just came onto the mic in absolute floods of tears there, that he was just talking to Sayano, you know, having a good conversation with an observer like you and I do on Cast all day, and you've stressed him out by making him go over there. I really think you should apologise.
I'm very, very sorry. Me and Easy get on very well. He knows that I love him.
Do you know that, Easy?
He does. Bye. Thank you very much, Easy.
I really wanted him to come back on the mic and say something, but he said nothing.
He did
so
to
disappointed.
Me.
Now I feel like the unloved one. What is this?
Spoke to me. Right, round one. Here we go. We've got DarkZero on the defence. They're going to be trying to hold on to Penthouse and Theatre. TSM are on the attack and moving quickly. Bolo firing through with the Gon 6, looking to take out Utility and moving in towards Aquarium. For the time being, he's going to hold an angle here, play it a little bit carefully, but then throws caution to the wind. He's going in, Des. He's moving in through luggage, looking to aggress on towards the top of White Stairs. And NJR may be well advised to dip himself away because Charla's on that window as well, and it might just be time to keep yourself alive for the rest of the round, but Bolo can't do that, Des, as Canadian slips underneath and finds himself a little nitro kill.
I've never heard a cast to be so excited about someone pushing into security.
Love it.
Luggage.
Why would you not? It's Siege, it's just so fun. Okay, enough.
The kills are flying in very quickly, by the way. 3 kills coming in for DZ, but it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Hard hitting between the two North American teams. We've still got half a round to play. It's a 2 versus 3. Geo trying to swing his way in towards the south side here, but challenged for a couple of angles, mainly inside of Theatre. So whilst he's there, we've got Merc up on Cool Vibes, I believe. You can see in the top left corner of your screen. So the 2 players from TSM are a little bit split at this point, and I imagine they'll want to try and get themselves back together here, make a unified front and push in as a collective rather than relying on individual skill with no drones leading you in. It's unlikely you'll come out on top in those situations.
You're just looking to breach the Theatre wall here. It's always a popular one. It makes this site very, very difficult once that is open because you get a nice long angle all the way through to Hall of Fame. And apart from hiding in behind Master Bed, it's very difficult for defenders to find any safety. Hyper is still holding on to VIP for the time being, and TSM, with time ticking away, need to get something going here, and that is the absolute opposite of what they needed. Canadian finds Merc. Geo manages to get one, but there is an instant trade comes back, and DarkZero take the first defensive round on Coastline.
Very, very scrappy. 9 seconds in the round, 5 people dead. Bam! Whole thing transforms. It's no longer a big team effort. It's kind of scrapping together whatever morsels of an attack you can assemble. But a good first round from DarkZero, capitalizing on TSM being split at 2 different sides of the map, and a great C4 coming in from Canadian. This is one of those that you look at and probably say that's sort of on TSM a little bit, because commonly when you see someone trying to get control of the top floor, you'll at the very least have a drone downstairs, but nothing saw Canadian step out with its C4. Bolo wasn't even moving at all, just stood static holding an angle, and it's an absolute freebie for Canadian. Well positioned, well timed, and a little bit sloppy from TSM to not catch that one.
I doubt that they'll be punished in the same way again. I think that they will be paying very close attention to who is where around the map, making sure that they pick up on those roamers. And they're going to need to, because DarkZero are defending kitchen and service this time around, so we would expect to see them with some players up on the top floors. At least 1, maybe 2, trying to hold on and keep the feet of TSM out of VIP. We do have Achieved on the sledge, as you said, one of his favourite operators, and if he can get in there and start swinging that hammer around round? He absolutely will. Now, Canadian setting himself up over in Sunrise, and looks like they're keen to hold on to that as well. It's always an important push, or an angle of the push coming in from the attackers. Take over Sunrise, push in onto the door into Kitchen. You can then cover a window plant potentially. So something else that DarkZero need to be aware of.
You always have to consider just how much map control you're trying to take. Like, Coastline isn't a super massive map. You can rotate through large parts of the map in just a few seconds generally, but Sunrise is where they started. They've obviously got something at the top of Vars. They've got the hatch reinforced off inside of Hookah 2. They've got the vertical control inside of VIP and Penthouse. They're all over the shop essentially. So the more spread thin you are, the more opportunities there are for TSM to spot a hole in the defense and just go for broke. For Bolo, at least, it's going to be him starting out towards Hookah, spraying the wall down. Not connecting onto anyone, took a little bit of a chip damage himself, mind you. I imagine that came from the man at the top of Vars, and Canadian, once again, is lurking below. He's inside of Sunrise, so I think it's a good thing that Bolo is now rotating away from Hookah, moving over to join his team on the east.
The bathroom drop has been completed. Achieved is moving in, starting to open up that floor. NJR is just going to be forced back inside of the side. Achieved, of course, needs to be careful. He could find himself just being shot back. But NJR, for the time being, decides to dip back inside of the shelves and just keep himself safe. Geo opens up the hatch and the vertical work continues. There doesn't look to be much of an effort from DarkZero here to prevent it. I take that back. Canadian finds the best operator he could have found, as you don't get to choose them, but it's Sledge he picks up, and there's gonna be a lot less vertical destruction coming in. They've still got Merc on the Zofia who can go in. He's got soft breach charges. He's doing that right now, trying to create a few more angles, but it's not the same convenience as the Sledge.
What a world we're in where Mute doesn't bring a C4, by the way. He's got the bulletproof, and the only C4 was the one in Canadian's back pocket, but he's 2 for 2 in rounds on getting kills with that C4. A wonderful start for the IGL of DarkZero. And now TSM have kind of said, okay, then full map clear sounds like the play. They've got the Nomad of Charla rotating all the way through Aqua up in towards Hookah and Billiards and trying to do some clearance out there, whilst Canadian is now retreated, no longer with an explosive, out towards Sunrise to stop any pushes coming in from the west. So TSM, I feel, have really got to decide what the game plan is here. We're into that final 60 seconds, and yes, they've got a bit of vertical control, but the members are still very scattered around the map.
Merc taking a lot of damage from underneath there. He's still seeking out the feet of the man, but he can't find them. Charla goes on the aggression, but there's cover in place. DarkZero have got a lot of angles held down here, but Bolo finds 2 before being traded out by Pamba. That leaves us 3v3, 3v2 as Merc manages to find NJR. Pamba just trying to rotate himself through into Courtyard, get a new angle, get on the flank and make TSM think. 20 seconds left to go, Des. They're going to have to think about getting this diffuser down, and that is exactly what Geo does. Goes inside a service and starts the plant, manages to find Pamba when he comes off. We'll have to go back to it as Canadian. Last one alive, 1v3, is now inside a Courtyard. Geo surely locks this down. Canadian finds 1 for free, but they know where he is now. Plant confirmed, 1v2. They just need to try and establish a bit of a crossfire here. Charla and Geo try and play together, and it looks like that's exactly what they've done. Charla's moved outside, but I think Canadian's aware. Does he find his man? No! Charla able to cut him down, and TSM managed to cling on to that one and get the round 1-1.
It's like jumping onto a merry-go-round and just seeing where it takes you in this game, Tim. That round there, once they found the first couple, like, a kill came from Canadian, then suddenly everything devolved into, let's go and push Aqua, let's try and fight over lobby, let's do everything except really focus on the site. But once Geo got in, everyone stopped messing around. It all turned the focus onto the site itself. And a good bit of heads-up play coming in from Geo as well, because he was planting, but came off to assist with the kills in towards Courtyard. Nice bit of play coming in overall, 1 for 1, nice and balanced between the two teams.
I already feel like this one's probably going to overtime, Des. I just don't feel like there's much to separate these two teams today. They are both very much in this, I think, for the win, but also for just the bragging rights. It's NA versus NA, region versus region. Just try and get in there and get one over on those regular opponents. They're going to be heading now, DarkZero down to Sunrise and Blue Bar, and nothing too unusual. Canadians brought the Echo along, so doesn't have a Nitro in hand this time.
You stole the joke I was going to make there. I was saying, Tim, DZ are already going to lose this round. And you were going to ask me, oh, why, Des? Why have you got such a big brain take on this round? And I was going to say, well, Tim, Canadian doesn't have a C4. He's playing on the Echo. He's clearly It's like when you've had a few spins and you feel, you know what, this is going well for me. I'm a bow out now. Canadian's gone for that. He doesn't want to make it 3 out of 3. Doesn't want to finally losing everything coming.
I've had a good day.
3. That's it.
I'm going to let someone else have a go.
Someone else can have a bit of fun, but no one's bringing a C4. There's 2 bulletproofs, there's 2 shields on side. The Yokais, of course, are going to weigh in. This just screams to me their focus is going to be denial. All the denial focused in towards pool entrance, up towards the northwest of the site itself, and stop TSM being able to get an easy plant down. For TSM, at least, they aren't starting on that side of things. They're starting in Penthouse and Theatre and want to work their way across. It's almost like, Tim, if they had a C4 in back pocket, now would be a great time to be whipping it out.
Imagine that. We have got one man up on the top there. Eclipse is going to take a lot of damage and likely dip away from that fight. And the thing is, by bringing the Nomad along, I spoke about it earlier during the day when we played Coastline earlier. Once you get in as the attackers, air jab off both stairs, you're safe upstairs. It's like you can just operate up there for free at that point. There's no rush, there's no pressure. You know that you're going to be safe. So as soon as Charlotte can get in, that's exactly what they're looking to do. But we're still trying to fight with somebody out in Hooker and just try and pressure them back downstairs, which I think is exactly what he's done. It looks like the hatch was open, but then there's going to be a little return here. I don't know if that player is just inside. I think they're on Cool Vibe stairs. Yes, they've gone back down the stairs. It was difficult just to tell whether they were inside VIP or on Cool Vibe stairs, but they're going to be forced away, and I think TSM have pretty much got that top floor control they want. It's just going to be down to Charlie to lock it off now with the air jabs.
Yep, good falling back by DarkZero as well, just keeping them guessing, forcing drones to have to come in, for example, forcing them to have to pre-fire on corners, but they get away with most of them intact. I say that, and then Merc finds NJR. Cast a curse, my friend. I am so sorry. With that opener, though, it's the smoke that's gone. One of the 2 big key denial tools that they had towards the plant going down in that corner of sight. All they can rely on now is Canadian on the Yokais. He's currently sat on them at this point, feeding information back and forth to the team, moving them around, getting them in position, being ready for when this play comes through.
Canadian just using...
Look, he's sat in bathroom as well. He's miles away from the action.
Just using that drone to try and feed information. We see this a little bit more often where Yokai drones will be used as the equivalent of the attacker drones. Just moving around, trying to find utility, trying to find players, trying to find locations. He's going to lose that one by doing so, and so it may just hinder his ability to deny a plant here. Merc tries to find one, but Pamba manages to cut him down. Immediate trade comes in. Geo's getting the plant down. Des somehow TSM have been able to steal inside a site and may just steal the round here. Bolo knows there's a challenge to be found, and boy does he find it. 3 on the round for him, going absolutely wild, taking Hyper down, cuts Eclipse as well. 4K for Bolo, easy for TSM.
Easy for Bolo especially. Wow, big 4K coming out to take round number 3 comfortably for TSM. I feel once they'd already removed the smoke, that was the main threat they were worried about gone, and they were counted through the Yokais as they went. You know, maybe not the best positioning overall for where they were set up by Troy. Like, normally you'd hide them underneath, like, trays. You wouldn't just leave them on the ceiling blind as they were done there. One even got pulled out and sent off on its little journey to Narnia, all the way up to Mordor by the looks of it, up White Stairs, and eventually being shot out. You know, not really the most effective use there or placement for those Yokai drones. Does come back to bite them as they have no form of denial, and Bolo goes absolutely nuclear. Now we find ourselves stepping into hookah and billiard, so going upstairs above the floor that we just played on a moment ago. And Tim, I'm dead pleased to report the C4s are back in action, so much so there's 2 of them to make up for lost time.
Not in Canadian's hands though. Canadian being the one to get opening kills with a Nitro in both round 1 and 2. Going to be on the Aruni this time around, brings the bulletproof camera, so feeding the information back. That's likely going to be played looking, it's already been deployed, and it's not looking in towards Aquarium, so it will be elsewhere. I'm sure we'll pick up on it as the round goes along. It's, oh, it is, thank you, Easy. It's on the white beam. I was so focused on the centre of the wall.
Ah, see, he's not chatting to Sayana now, is he, huh?
Where it usually goes, that it's found over on the left-hand side.
It's got you covered there, mate. Well and truly looked after. I just wanted to chip in and rib on you a bit. I had nothing else to offer, I'm sorry.
Often the case. Round 4 gets underway. We're into the action phase, and we have got Wamai playing out in Aquarium, but Bolo continues his kill streak there. 4K moves to 5 in a row as he manages to find Pamba and take him out of the round very, very quickly, and Bolo's looking confident here as he's got a drone at his feet and he's getting aggressive towards that sunrise door, moving quickly across the map.
Yeah, I mean, the man's now 7-2. Yes, it's been largely built on the 4K that he got in the previous round, but when he starts firing, he doesn't really tend to stop. Keep a close eye on him throughout this map, because the only one really matching him on the other side is Canadian. Even he's sat down at 4-3, 2 of those kills coming in from a C4. So yet to really see who his nemesis is going to be in this game, who can really step up and compete with him. We spoke about how on Villa it was very, very balanced. There was no one hero really standing up for either team. I think we're already starting to see one established in the form of Bolo. Canadian working his way down towards White Stairs. I think he's caught wind that maybe they're pushing in towards lobby here, just checking it out in case a drone comes up as well. You know, part of the job of Aroma is more about destroying drones, drawing utility, wasting time. If they're going to drone you out the top of White, you kill a drone, move back into the next room. They drone you out again, you kill another drone and move back. You've chewed through 20% of their intel game, so it's always worth being out on the roam, even if not to find kills, just to waste time and to eat through those drones.
Top White currently being held as well at the minute. DarkZero very widespread again on the defence. It was something that they tried last time around in round number 3. TSM were able to force their way into sight pretty quickly once they realised that was the case. They're going to take out the shield at the top of Cool Vibe Stairs, so NJR's position becomes a little bit more perilous, and it looks like they are pushing towards Hooker here, looking to really clear it out. Hyper manages to get Bolo, so that's going to level things up at 4-4. And he's just going to drop himself away into office probably, just to relieve the pressure that was mounting on him from Achieved on the double window.
Again, just more smart play, drawing attention, drawing time, and then dropping away to another location. Really well played drone game by DarkZero in this round especially. Although that does mean they've now got to play below the site itself, not forgetting they are defending the top floor. It does mean they aren't at risk of losing any more members just yet. NJR looking pretty low, but it's a 4 versus 3. Achieved, equalising things back up to 3-3 onto Hyper, who backed away not too long ago. 30 seconds to play with for TSM.
I've got to say, through what we've seen of TSM, it is so often Achieved who does that.
Hello?
When they're behind, he drags them back into it. Eclipse is just looking on the long angle. He's not going to get anybody coming in from Hooker door just yet, but it's not going to be long, Des, because they don't have much of a choice. The Toxic Babe canisters go out, another one is deployed. They're just going to have to go for it through this, and he does manage, Gio, to get himself inside, gets a kill, and is able to start putting the diffuser down. He has to stick this now, and Charla has to cover. He gets one, focuses on the second. Canadian will not be able to cross the path, and that is going to be the diffuser down successfully from TSM. Gio manages to escape outside, and this one looks like it's all but done. They might want to put somebody on the rappel, but they're just going to hold their time here. I think actually Charla's gone underneath to potentially look at a denial from down there. Canadian's going for it. Are they going to stop him in time? Yes, Charla manages to come up the Cool Vibe stairs and gets him through the rotation.
Very nice and smart there to play up Cool Vibes. They had one on the doorway side, one on the stairway side. Just no way in heaven's hell that Canadian gets out of there alive or with the diffuser completed. Good stuff. TSM moved to 3-1 in the half, even with DZ being pretty good on the roam. I've got to say, they're chewing their way through drones, for example. They're wasting quite a bit of time. They're drawing in utility. Not tons to the stage that TSM are completely exhausted on those things, but enough that it's given them something to think about. It's not changing the outcome all that much, though. 3-1 as said as we go back into Penthouse and Theatre, which is where this whole map started off.
And back in round 1, it was a DarkZero win on this site. Canadian just wasn't picked up underneath. He was able to get a nitro kill, really kicked the round off, and then he made a nuisance of himself on the flank. Something that I think TSM need to pay attention to this time. They need to make sure that they're picking up on exactly where the roam game is, because DarkZero have been playing these defences pretty widespread over the last couple of rounds in particular. They've only maybe had 1 or 2 on site generally, so TSM able to go in, and you've 2 choices. You either try and pick them apart, or you move in quickly and try and get yourself directly into site. Given the VIP setup this time, I don't think it's going to be the latter of those choices, so just try and get yourself in underneath. Make sure you've cleared everybody out. Canadian does have a nitro again. He's on the Goyo, so may play closer to site. He may head downstairs again. We'll have to keep an eye on exactly where he goes. But TSM, learn your lesson. Make sure you're picking up where everybody is and go and clear them out.
Overall, these castle barricades back in round 1 as well were dealt with pretty quickly. They just burnt their way through them. Not forgetting, of course, you have the Gone 6, you've got Sophia on side. They aren't really long for this world. You've already heard the first one come out here as well, Bolo popping it open, and Hyper is at the doorway to meet him. Has a C4 in back pocket. If he feels like chancing it, he could just chuck a C4 over this edge here and might find Bolo quite easily, since he won't have much time to react and go clay pigeon shooting. For now, it's almost like he's daring him to get on the rappel, because of course you see the top of the rappel line when it attaches onto a surface, and he'll know exactly where the aggressor is.
Hyper looking to get aggressive himself. Just moving through towards Aquarium, and I think DarkZero just trying to have a presence around the map and just let them know that nothing is going to come for free here. As you can see, again, quite widespread, this defense. They've got one in VIP, one in corridor, one in sight, and then the other two are off roaming, one inside a hooker and one on Cool Vibe stairs. So there is work for TSM to do here, and they're being very cautious about it. There's a minute in, and they're still just looking to find exactly where these players are before they take the challenge. Hyper is on the receiving end of one of those challenges. He's going to take a lot of damage and dip himself back to the corridor to keep himself safe and continue in the fight, but needs to be careful here because there was no damage done to the side of TSM.
No, it's very close up to Hyper, but he's alive for now at the very least. Halfway into the round, and they're finally starting to get some feet inside the building. You've got Merc pushing in off towards Kitchen side. You've got Bolo, who's just stepped in and looked towards Luggage. So it's taken them a while to get the drone work done and to feel confident to actually step inside the building, but I touched on Coastline as a map earlier on. Oh dear. That happened. And that happened too.
Just a complete lack of awareness of where Merc was coming from, but as you say, Eclipse manages to answer back, and that's something you picked up on, Des, from Merc, and it's happened again. He gets that entry, he gets traded out, not always managing to get the full benefit of that opening kill. 4 versus 4, 1 minute left to go. Achieve taking a lot of damage on the hooker door, trying to push in, knows that a man is prone, obviously has information. Somehow the Aruni of Eclipse managed to escape for a little bit of time, but is ultimately found. Pamba finds Bolo at the same moment, and Charla, he repels into the top of White Stairs and is looking to push directly onto site here. TSM aren't going to have too many options if they allow the clock to keep ticking. 3v3, 35 seconds left to go. They need to find some kills.
It's just consistently coming down to these 1v1 gunfights as well, where again the team aren't strictly playing together, but there are really good trades being offered back by the other side. A 1v1 battle turns into a whole team brawl in the end. And here's another one. Charla, this time bringing down Pamba as he steps out for a challenge. There's still one more sat inside the theatre. I don't think they know. NJR tucked in, could play massive spoiler in this round if he knows which side they're coming from. He's got one to either side of him. They've got not a clue that he's in the corner. Finds one, also a swing on 90 comes in. Canadian weighing in at the last second. It's all down to Achieved. And a little bit of misdroning on the site itself. They may have done the surrounding runes and the stairways, but didn't think about those that might be holding it down themselves.
Beautiful play from NJR and Canadian there in the 2 versus 3. Never an easy situation, especially for NJR. Had one pushing on either side of him, but Canadian dealt with that when he stepped out into the corridor, and that just shows good communication between the two. NJR obviously aware of the situation around him, called out the danger, and his teammate was able to react quickly and help him to deal with it. So DarkZero taking themselves another successful defense of Penthouse Theatre. If you were going to pick any site on the map to be the one that they held on to, Des, it might not be that one.
A win's a win. At the end of the day, they'll be happy to take it. Now they're going to try Blue Bar and Sunrise for the last of the half before we'll switch sides and see how TSM fare on the defense of Coastline. Again, remembering, this is DarkZero's map pick. Back on Villa, it was TSM's, which DarkZero walks away as the winner on. If you were a betting man, you'd probably say the DarkZero have got some kind of confidence on this map, some ideas they can bring to the fore. We've seen a couple in this half, and it's mainly been in the form of C4s coming out of Troy. But it does mean this half can end 3-3 at the most for them. Let's see how things set up here, down in Blue Bar and Sunrise then. Nothing really out of the ordinary that we're seeing just yet, to be fair. The usual rotate between sides, a bunch of reinforcements scattered around, some attention being given out towards service and entrance, or service entrance, sorry. Normally why you see that is because someone wants to play inside a kitchen and challenge onto the service entrance doorway. Again, just slow them down, draw some drones in. Where I've seen mistakes made here across the tournament a couple of times is people overstay their welcome. And the problem then is the attackers get someone sat on kitchen window, you try and back in through kitchen, try and back out through kitchen because you can't go via lobby because someone's on that door. You just find yourself a little bit trapped essentially. So I want to make sure that DarkZero are dropping back in good time and not getting themselves a member or two going down without being able to get out safely.
TSM have gone straight onto the rappel towards Penthouse double window, looking to start a little bit of a top floor clearance as well, I would expect. And then you've got Bolo just around the corner here. He's going to be droning out, and I think has probably found Pamba by the looks of those shots that rain in through the service door, just looking to see if he can catch the man out. But he's not too worried about getting in there and aggressing directly into him, I wouldn't have expected. Given that it's the Malusi, he'll know that there's a Banshee in place. Merc nearly catches one out on the rotate as he sprints across the VIP doorway, but he will escape down Cool Vibe stairs. It's Eclipse that's just moving himself to safety, and TSM looking pretty good for top floor control.
Yeah, it took them about 90 seconds last time to get real control to actually get inside the building in the first place. But the fact that they're in on the east side now and looking to move their way through is a good sign. Pamba still left, largely ignored downstairs, mind you. He doesn't look too bothered right now. While Hyper is having his own challenges off towards the site, just sat above it, drops away as Merc steps in. Cool vibes, oh, good timing to get away there just as Merc steps in to look for the challenge, but he catches Canadian on the rotate back out. A good kill to find. The Mute going down along with that C4.
Merc getting the opener there. Now it's time to keep yourself alive, keep in the game, don't be traded out, and really get the full benefit of that opening kill. 5 versus 4 Canadian gone. He's straight onto the cameras trying to feed information back into his team. But TSM, they are now able to start opening up above the site with the Nomad on site of Charla. There's no reason that she should be getting challenged again up on that top floor. There's a lot of work to be done here. There's the Mute Jammer that needs to be cleared out, and then the wall can be open. They can force the defender out from behind that position. Merc does manage to get Pamba, and the Hibana of Geo is looking to start that work. Merc's just picking him apart here. Des has got himself 3 on the round. This could be 4. No, shut down by Hyper, but it could be too little too late for DarkZero, as it's now 2 versus 4. Eclipse doing what he can, takes out the drone, but he's going to have to dip away from the plant spot there. But Hyper, he decides he's going to get hyper aggressive here. He's going up to the door, but Geo cuts him down, and that's going to leave it all up to Eclipse. 1v4 shut down by Achieved on the swing, and that's going to be TSM taking round number 6. 4-2 half for them.
In dominant fashion as well. A lot of it coming off Merc, the man who we spoke about earlier on, constantly being traded out as the opening man. I think he got into a spot at the top of Cool Vibes where I thought, okay, DarkZero backed away here, they won't find themselves caught, but it was really good intuition by Merc to immediately swing over to the hatch and hope to capitalize someone who was moving around trying to reposition once the call had come in that he was present up above. Very smart play, a big 3K, hands the round to TSM, and now they turn onto the defensive side whilst DarkZero get their swing of the bat on the attack.
Going to be Kitchen to begin with for TSM. Are we going to see Coastline play out in favour of the attackers today? I'm sure DarkZero fans out there are going to be hoping that that is the case, or is it just the fact that TSM were in control of it? Not too unusual for us to see teams take each other's map picks and go and win them and just find ourselves on a third decider. At the end of the day, when you're talking about a map pool and a professional team, you got to be capable on all of them. You know, you've got to at least be able to put in a reasonable game. Obviously teams have their favourites, they have some that they are better than others, but you would still expect them to be able to be competitive on all.
I think that's fair to say, yeah. You need to be able to, in the same way when you play ranked, right? You might step onto, I don't know, Favela, Canal, maps you don't like playing. You need to know how to play them to some level. Pro teams, being way, way ahead of that, will definitely have some competency on all 7 maps. A lot of it just comes down to preference. It comes down to the amount of prep time that you've invested. I know for some teams, for example, they're just like, well, everyone else is playing that map, so we're not going to play it and we're just going to ban it away every single time. And there's a couple of teams that do it on Chalet. I forget which ones they were, but I spoke to a couple and that was sort of their approach. If everyone else is playing it, we'd rather just ban it away so all that prep time they're given into the newer map is exhausted and wasted. So not at all a bad strategy. You'd rather focus on getting 3 or 4 right than work on all 7 and find yourself more watered down. Anyway, 30 seconds in, DarkZero are starting out exactly as TSM would have, with the initial drone work coming in, making sure they actually have a way of getting inside the building in the first place. And one of the key differences is Pamba on this Twitch can obviously run around with those shock drones, which he was doing for a second there, and clear out any gadgets that he finds. And he's got a good few targets, looking in towards those magnets, looking in towards the electro claws, for example. Can't, of course, shoot his way through the other things like the bulletproof Banshees or through the Evil Eyes, but can still threaten them if they were to open up.
Charles sees one man move across service, but just far too quick to react to, and lets him go, feeds the information to Achieved, who is trying to hold down the main door in the direction that he was headed. There's actually 3 looking to push in from there at the minute, and until Achieved is moved out of his position here, they are not going to be able to. They will be held up. Jala's got the perfect weapon in hand to be able to hold down this service door, and Hyper was aware of this earlier, and I think he might still be watching that angle onto double window. He is just waiting for the potential jump out there. He's desperate for them to try it, because he's just going to pull the trigger as soon as they do. It looks like Merc has just dipped away from it. He's going to have no further part in that, and Hyper guesses that's going to be the case and turns his attention back towards service.
Well, double smoke coming down into lobby is interesting. Don't normally see this unless you want to go in for a plant, yet no one's made a move. In fact, here we go, finally stepping inside a service. It's Hyper looking in towards one side, but he falls down to Charla as Alder gets set to work. There is one more man just in front of him that he can't quite find. There's a trade back on the other way. Pambazu finding a double, but Charla evens things out as well. A 3 versus 3. Charla onto a slither of HP, and Canadian with a great angle inside a courtyard. It's going to force one member out of sight altogether. So now it starts forming into this sort of retake situation for a couple of members of TSM, but you still got Charla sat with that Alder, waiting for someone to step in. It's Pamba stepping up for a 3k in the round. Looks for one more coming down on White. He's got the right idea. Can he land the shots? No, he cannot. Dipping away, in and out into a 2 versus 2, Tim.
Pamba does have Diffuser in hand here, and after finding that quad kill, he's going to go for the plant. Pambazu doing absolutely everything inside of this round as Gio's trying to take a pot shot through the wall, and JR's going to pinch away that ace from Pambazu, but he won't mind in the slightest. This is all about winning rounds, winning games, and that is exactly what DarkZero just did. 3-4 after a successful first attack.
I want to say convincing, but it was more Pamba that was convincing than anything, right? You step in and find 4 kills like that. Yeah, fair play. A round is going to be pretty convincing if you're hitting shots like that the whole way through. Had the plant going down, so regardless of what happened after that point, I didn't really see him losing it. There was a yellow ping that came into where he was planting, but of course you got some cover from NJR, ensures the round goes their way. TSM not wanting to see this series end 2-0 are cracking on with things here on the defensive side. What more they could turn this into is going to be, defensive side. DarkZero not wanting it to end, too favourable towards TSM. They're starting to crack on their attacking side and get things going. Now we're going to step ourselves into Blue Bar and Sunrise.
TSM then, they're not going to want to let DarkZero get the heads here and start catching up too much. This is an important round for them to try and win if they're going to try and take this to a third map here. DarkZero on the attack. We know that Coastline can play in their favour. It looks like we've just had a call for a rehost. Tell you what, we've not had too many of those, have we?
No, we haven't, to be fair.
This might be our first, actually. We've had a couple where during the break between maps, you know, somebody's had to just drop out and sort something out back in. But actual rehosts, I think it might be our first. Second at an absolute push. It's
very limited.
Very, very good so far, Touchwood.
This is a good time to do a little update as well on what we just heard about what's going on the other stream. BDS have just won Cafe 7-3. That doesn't have any bearing on the actual outcome of the group. BDS are donezo. They are going home essentially on Sunday. But if nothing else, it's a bit of a point to say, well, here's what we can still achieve, right? We can still play. Is it against some of the best teams in the world? Everyone here arguably is one of those. It's against Elevates. Maybe you'd say no, but a result is a result. You know, heart does break a little bit for them as well, knowing they've had a rough few days in terms of Rafal not being present, then being back in the team. But ultimately, the results speak for themselves, and, you know, the 4 teams from this group, at least, that are going through, Tim.
We do. We will be back with you in the game very, very shortly. We're just going to get all the players loaded back in. There was just a little drone bug that's meant that we've had to just drop out and basically just reload everybody back in. That is the case. I can see the lobby in front of me, so we'll get the game started, and as soon as we know that everything is smooth, we will be back with you. We've got some replays in the meantime, just to keep you entertained. Feast your eyeballs on some of these fantastic kills that we've seen so far. It's been a real battle between these two North American sides so far, neither of them wanting to concede ground to the other. I don't think, there's been a time really where anybody's been clear by 3 rounds.
No.
The most advantage anybody has had has been TSM at 3-1. You know, other than that, it's all been 1 round difference basically on the scoreline.
You'll take that for a nice competitive game. The thing that would have really stopped coming into this, because there's naturally a lot of rivalry between these two teams, right? We know exactly what Canadian can be like when he's screaming across the room, whether it's SSG, Oxygen, TSM, you name it. He'll be screaming the house down at whoever is sat there. But for TSM, a team that are kind of trying to show, look, all right, Stage 3 was a one-off, like, deal with it. DarkZero, who are trying to prove a point themselves, have now had Canadian for 6 months. And generally that 6-month mark is where you're expected to start seeing results. We've said much the same, interestingly, for BDS, this competition with BIOS being with them now for about 6 months. Obviously hasn't worked out too well for them, but for DarkZero, although it looks shaky to start things off, they are looking good, at least in this series. Let's see then how our double bar site setup goes. We're not going to see out of the defending side this time round anything like a echo coming through. There is a smoke, as you come to expect, but a slightly different tactic being shown by TSM compared to what we saw coming out of DarkZero.
moving into the round we go then. It's going to be round 8. TSM on the defense once again. Blue Bar Sunrise, as you say, we've got a lot of players off site at the minute. Look at this aggression from Achieve.
Okay.
Manages to take Canadian down, gives it a little Oryx dash to get out of there, and that is a big start for TSM on this defense. Losing Canadian straight away and the hard breach as well, Des. Not ideal.
Although, I guess you kind of are, because the reinforced walls inside of the pool entrance are normally quite key to get opened up to give you better angles through in towards the site, move the defenders around, for example. It's not critical to have, but I'd argue it's still quite important. You've got the Maverick, but do you really want a Maverick to be opening that wall up knowing a C4 can come through, or smoke canisters? Not really. Hyper getting one bat at least onto Achieve. So they're going to shut down the Oryx here, who could be such a troublesome roamer if left unchecked. They'll be happy that he's been taken off the board here. So 1 for 1, all inside the first 60 seconds.
It manages to do some damage to Hyper there. I think he was possibly looking for a little bit of a headshot, but didn't quite land it. Does take a little bit of chip damage off the Arno, but also announces his presence inside of Penthouse. He's going to open the hatch to give himself an option to get out of there. He was just waiting to be droned. If they didn't, he may have continued going, and that's exactly what he does. He guesses that the challenge is going to come, and he manages to beat Hyper to the punch and get himself the kill. Takes half damage, but he's just causing a little bit of a sticking point here, Des. They have to get in and clear him out, and they're not being too quick in doing it. They certainly can't lose another life to it. Eclipse manages to challenge, get the kill, and that's 3 versus 3.
Inside about 90 seconds to have dealt with the roam game, you're not going to complain about it all that much, I don't think. You might still see Geo wanting to get out in the map and get problematic. Even Bolo could, but knowing the site, you probably want to hunker down a bit here. You've got the smoke to play behind, for example. You've got a couple of impacts you can just yeet in towards that back corner. Bolo could be the difference maker. Currently sat inside a service entrance, waiting for someone to come hopping in through the door. And now slightly scared away by the sky is falling down. It's NJR with a hammer, knocking out some floorboards and giving him something to think about. So he will now relocate ever so slightly inside of the bathroom to look in towards lobby, and Pamba is going to see him on the drone. So that really is going to be the indication that he knows he's about to get pressured. Watches in towards lobby. He's daring someone to come for the swing. If he shuts down Pamba here, it could be massive for them. You've also got the sledge above. Almost finds a kill there. In fact, will find it. Can he get the second? Yes, he can. That is one way to shut down the pressure coming in from the attackers. And with that move itself, he may have just won the round for TSM.
Oh, it's just too good. It should not be allowed. Finds his third, doesn't move his feet out of bathroom. Absolutely unreal. 1 kill on the vertical, 1 at distance, 1 on the main door. He just does it all inside that 3K.
That is scary. You know, I look back over the notes from the last few rounds, Merc 3K in round 6 that won in the round. In round 7, it was a Pamba 4K that won the round for DZ. This one, a big 3K from Bolo, off on the roam by himself, completely unassisted. Achieves exactly the same outcome. And this sort of thing seems to follow TSM around. Look back at their game against Fury the other day that you and I cast. We already mentioned the first half of Villa, where there were 4Ks, aces, 4Ks, all sorts coming in. It was an absolute nightmare, and TSM are still delivering the goods. All that built on top of some excellent team play makes them a real force to be reckoned with. They are at 5 and 3. A couple more rounds and we will find ourselves going through to bank for the decider in this NA showdown. But now at least though, we find ourselves in service and kitchen once again.
We do. We saw this back in round 7. DarkZero were able to get the win.
As Pamba got the win.
That's very true. Pamba 4
4K.
kills and tried to get the diffuser down as well. Tried to do absolutely everything for his team. DarkZero going to need a little bit more of a widespread contribution, I would have thought this time. We've said it.
Reminds me of you in the rank stack. That does 4 kills and getting the plant down.
It's easy stuff, isn't it? Just
well, it's not 5, is it, mate? You could be a bit better.
Easy business, does. We've said it time and again. You can't always rely on those hero players. You know, they're going to have to find something different here. It was. I still think it came down to 2v2 at the end. It was close. It wasn't dead straightforward.
No.
So DarkZero need to find kills around the map. I think what DarkZero need to be doing in these next few rounds that they've struggled over the last few is getting kills, but holding on to them, not taking the trades, not taking the losses as well.
Kind of like what TSM had to learn to do with Merc as the game's gone by as well, where he'd find the entry, step forward a few more steps, and then lose his life and get traded out. Wasn't always pretty. Bamba, at least, and Hyper, and Eclipse are all setting themselves up out towards the east. You've got the Sledge now looking to get control above. That's NJR. taking it very, very slow, and the electrification coming through onto the VIP wall does give them another obstacle to have to work around. It's going to be a case of removing away a bunch of utility here. You're looking in towards things like those Malushi Banshees, the Evil Eyes, the Frost Mats, the Electro Claws, the Magnets. There is an absolute ton for them to still chew through, but they do have help against any roamers that would be present with the Jackal coming out of Canadian.
DarkZero just mounting up on that service entrance side. Service and main lobby looking to be a lot of the focus of the push. Canadian just conscious of the potential for somebody inside of Sunrise.
Finds one.
Oh! He him out. Bad time for a barricade achieved as Canadian able to find the headshot there, and that gives DarkZero a little bit of a boost into the round here. Not even the halfway mark, and that is a big starter for them.
Big wrist. Oh! Screamer of a shot onto Bolo. Gets the yellow ping for an assist. Sure, say what you want, but the old mans can still hit some nasty shots. A second in the round going down. 3v5 for TSM, and it's not looking so good. You were saying for DarkZero, find those openings and then just control it from there. Well, he's found two without barely setting a single foot inside the building, Tim.
And great players they have been, both of them from him, and DarkZero really now need to keep the foot down here, I think. Keep the pressure on, don't know what, there we go, and that's exactly what they do, finding the kill onto Charla. That's what I wanted to see. Don't let TSM settle down and start finding challenges here. Eclipse, yes, gets in, getting the diffuser down, keeping the pressure up, keeping the time rolling. 3K from Canadian.
Oh my.
That'll be a 4K and a flawless round for DarkZero.
That was so composed coming out of DarkZero. They barely had to step inside the building and have already found themselves 3 kills. Great stuff, not getting dragged into the slugfest that we've seen in previous rounds. They moved themselves up to 4, and like I mentioned, Canadian barely setting a foot inside the building here, steps inside office, back out again, ding, straight onto Bolo's head, and there goes his skull, and finds himself the 3K into a 4 to close things out. Beautiful round from the IGL, but again, I'll draw back to what we've commented on before. It's another hero play coming out of one member of the team.
Could we be going to overtime for a second map in a row? Wouldn't surprise me between these two. 5-4 at the minute. If TSM don't want to see all 12 rounds here, they need to be winning this one at least. As soon as DarkZero get themselves onto 5, it'll guarantee that all 12 will be needed at least for TSM to close things out. It's going to be hooker and billiards this time around. We are yet to see this site from TSM, so we'll see exactly what they bring to the table, but DarkZero certainly keeping the pressure on at the minute. For me, Des, they just don't feel maybe quite as lethal as TSM did on the attack, though.
It's about the Mozzie being brought along here, I think, to control the information game, right? I mean, a lot of what happened in that last round from Canadian was being informed by the drone. So what do you do in that case, Tim? You bring along some anti-drone utility to shut things down. It's only going to be a few pests, but it does mean they can play in potentially key locations whilst denying information away from DarkZero to not hand over any freebies. Canadian, though, has had his fun on the Jackal. Now he's been told, right, Troy, great 4K. Now get back on support. He's back on the ace here. He did go down as the opening death last time round. We saw him playing on this operator, so we'll keep a close eye on it. Make sure he stays alive a bit longer. Imagine those Salmas are destined for the courtyard quadruple wall. Getting that open does force the bar player away, although I did comment earlier on that you can now do that in a different way because the bar itself is now destructible. You can blow it out with a Zofia, you can blow through it potentially with Gun 6s if you want to. There's all sorts of ways to get it opened up to make the player that sits behind it sweat that little bit more.
Canadian straight up to the rooftop, going to be opening the bathroom hatch with his soft breach gadget there, and then potentially pushing towards the aquarium balcony. No, he's going to maybe have a look at the triple wall.
He wants the wall.
I think that's ultimately what he wants. You get the ace up on there, you can take some lumps out of the wall there from the far side of the roof, and it just stops anybody playing in behind bar. That's the purpose of doing that. It also makes it difficult for them to rotate around site.
Well, looks like the acknowledgement is there for the side of TSM, who very quickly vacate out of billiards. There's one now tucked in the southwest corner. The rest are scattered to the high winds. So a couple of them running out towards the east side of the map. One on Vars and one down in Sunrise. So really only one man actually on site with a second playing perimeter to it. If DarkZero were to smoke this out, pull the trigger and just say, let's just go for it, boys, they could get away with a good couple of freebies here, potentially. A great nade coming in, and that could be the sign they're looking for.
Just nade after nade going off there, just one after another. Explosions absolutely everywhere. Difficult for TSM to keep them safe, and Gio could not achieve that. Bolo going onto the door here. He's getting aggressive. He's maybe seen Nello's plays earlier, Des. He wants to get some action on the pool entrance. He's not going to find any, though, as timing once again just takes the man man away from him. We've got one established up on hooker deck for DarkZero, another one on Aqua Balk. DarkZero getting themselves positioned here well. They just need to be cautious of those TSM roamers that still haven't come back to sight yet.
I think Bella was chancing a run out there for a second, thinking about it, but has bailed on that very quickly now that two members of DarkZero have got themselves onto the Aqua balcony, looking to step in. A Gone 6 from below, in case you're curious about how much damage it does, you can see it on Charla's health bar. The answer is not an awful lot, but would have had a chance to potentially pop him down from below if it stayed still a little bit too long, but moved away pretty quickly.
Achieved holding a nice angle from the top of White Stairs onto Aqua Balk. It could be decisive once DarkZero try to get themselves on there towards site, but another life is lost along the way. This time it's Bolo, and we found ourselves 5 versus 3. DarkZero seriously lacking in drones at this point, only 2 remaining plus any active Twitch drones, so it is very, very hard times for them. Pamba's going to move up, cool vibes here. The Banshee is going to halt his progress. They must know he's coming now. The kills are coming in. Somehow DarkZero come out on top, and it's 2 versus 1. Diffuser going down, they have to stick this. Achieved shut down by Pambazoo, and it's leveled up once again. There's 5 versus 5 on the scoreboard, and we are going to see at least all 12 rounds here.
I love what we're seeing as well. DarkZero really battling down in. Not forgetting, they were finding themselves down at 5 and 3 just a couple of rounds back, but we're back up to 5 and 5. So much so that it has inspired a timeout to be called in here. I'm pretty sure that's going to come out from TSM as well, because they're the ones not having such a good time at the minute with those last 2 rounds going against them. NJR doing a lot of work in this round as well. A big 3K coming in and making sure he could get in for that plant. Again, just like Pamba did earlier on. 3 kills for himself and then going for the plant. Great performance out of individual members of the team. There's a world where you could say if it comes down to individual members winning rounds, is it necessarily a good sign for the team? No, but if it's getting you round wins, who the hell cares?
Exactly that. 5-5 it is now. DarkZero have potentially got a 2-0 win in reach here. They could take all 3 points, which given their entrance into this tournament and the first couple of games they've had would be an upset here, because TSM have certainly shown us better performances so far, but DarkZero have stepped it up a notch today, and they might just be a little bit of a different force for teams to reckon with from here on out. We're going to be going into round 11 very shortly. We've got the tactical pause at the minute with Pojo just trying to instill some ideas, some confidence, some...
Galvanise the troops, Tim.
Galvanise the troops, exactly that for TSM going forward. It's going to be a defence of Blue Bar and Sunrise from them. We've seen them defend this already back in round 8. They were successful in winning it. I know, simply say for the win, Bolo too good.
Bolo too good.
It was the 3K from Frost in battle.
I'll be spamming that now. You know what? You want to know what a coach does, right? To earn their paycheck and be standing on this stage. What's the one thing a coach has to say to really change the outcome of a round? You know what they say, Tim? They say, boys, more frag grenades. They've got 8 in this round coming out here across their operators. It's going to be a nightmare. Canadian, 6 picking off the Jackal into the Finker. More nades on board. The only other thing they've got in the back pocket is the smokes coming out of the Twitch. On the other side, they've got the Wamai still, of course, in play. No Jaeger on the field. So, sure, keep a close eye out for the Wamai. See if they can get rid of those with the Twitch drones. Then it is going to be explosive hell inside the map. The one thing I do remember criticising DZ before, I think it was back in Sweden, they had 36 nades brought along in a half, and they had 1 nade kill from it. And I said, look, if you're bringing 36 frag grenades, you've got to be finding more kills than that. I'm hoping here with 8 in back pocket, they can find at least 1 in the round. So expect some vertical play to come through. Expect them to be trying to catch out members who are isolated by spamming nades at them. It could be beautiful, or it could be an absolute mess.
Could be. I'd have to agree. I think, you know, you can talk to me about clearing utility all you want, and yep, I'm sure the frag grenades did a lot of that, but 36, you've got to be finding more than 1 kill realistically. Yeah. Now then, DarkZero, they've brought along the Twitch. The drones already being deployed. It's been pretty constant throughout from Pamba, having a great game on the operator so far. Obviously, we've had a little rehost, so the kills are no longer accurate on your screens, but he is going well, let me tell you that. A 4K and an almost plant in 1 round alone from him. Certainly a player to be watching at this point in time for the remaining 2 rounds. We might see some overtime here, we might not. It depends what happens over the next couple, but it's certainly DarkZero that have got the momentum at the minute, taking the last 2 rounds back-to-back. Interestingly, TSM won 3 rounds back-to-back in their first half. If DZ can match that, Des, on the attack, they're going to be going with a map point in the next round.
Look, Tim, frag grenades going off everywhere. It's like a whole New Year fireworks celebration. I love it. 4 have been used so far. They've got rid of a couple of the magnets on the way through. Others just kind of thrown idly into the middle of the room, hoping they'd find something, and, well, nothing was found. At this point for Geo, he's the one you're looking to. The longer he stays alive, the more of these magnets he'll have. Another frag goes off. Another one is thrown in. No one's being damaged by them on the side of TSM, though they're not really too concerned right now as the first smoke canister gets deployed at that minute 15 mark.
Geo's just looking to pop up from behind the bar, see if he can catch them on the way in. They've been unsuccessfully moving him so far, DarkZero. They've managed to get themselves into office, though, and Hyper's just going to start walking into sight here, Des. He could cause a real problem for TSM. I don't think they're aware of his location, and if he moves now, he's going to find the man behind the bar and really close down a solid part of the defence here. They're trying to move him around, but no,
timing!
And he just sees Hyper and shuts him down. 45 seconds left to go. DarkZero, you got to get moving.
Timing-wise, it's been so unfortunate for DarkZero there. 2 kills come in the way of TSM, and just when you thought Hyper might have a massive impact, he drops the gun, goes for the sprint. Even even Canadian's been shut out. NJR does get one back, but at this point it feels like a consolation kill. Eclipse going for a plant. Can they stop him here? Yes, they can, because Geo's behind the bar. NJR left all alone. I don't think he can clutch this out in a 1 versus 3, but if he can, well, I'm gonna buy him a drink tomorrow. No, he gets shut down by Bolo. TSM move up to match point. It's 6 and 5.
TSM the ones able to stretch it that little bit further. The question is now, can they go one better than DarkZero did on the defense? DarkZero, sorry, the opposite way around on the attack. DarkZero, no, what am I doing to myself, Des? It's too late tonight for me. DarkZero on the defense managed to get 2 rounds. Can TSM get 3? That's what I was trying to say.
It's one of those where it's, you know, we get upset. Give context. We get up quite early as well. We're ready for our 2 games of the day. Your breakfast.
I've been to the gym this morning.
Sorry, mate. Just want to flex a bit more for me there.
I was up at 8 o'clock. I had breakfast. I've been to the gym. I've had a busy day.
And now we're at 20 past 9 after a lot of casting.
And I'm an old man.
We've been running around doing some interesting photo shoots today. So those who don't know, the guy who does all our social media work, Bart, his name is, he is just a content machine. He literally came to us with a spreadsheet of pictures of memes and was like, right, I want to recreate as many of these as possible. So we've got one that you'll see at some point on the timeline of me and Tim doing the whole, like, lying in bed thing where I'm essentially the one turning my back with my arms folded, being like...
a couple in bed.
Oh, he's definitely thinking about casting with someone else. And Tim's on the other side just thinking something. We don't know what the tagline is yet.
Don't know what he's thinking, yeah?
We don't know. Well,
I'm thinking.
I don't know what you're thinking, Tim.
I'm referring to myself in the third person here.
Bart's going to do all the thinking for you, Tim. But when you see that on the timeline later, fair warning, me and Ace were in bed having a cuddle together earlier on.
Won't be the first time.
No, or the last.
Moving on then, we're going to be heading back in after the DarkZero tactical pause. They have called it at the 11th hour after the 11th rounders, and they're going to try to lock things down now. They need to close this round out. They need to find it to take themselves to overtime. Otherwise, they're going to be taking themselves to a 3rd map, and that is potentially not going to be very easy for them on Bank. TSM have looked confident on the roam, and if they can continue that, there could be a danger. Somebody like Polo let loose out on the roam of a big map like Bank could hurt them.
Just a little bit. I like the setup coming out from TSM, and when I say setup, really what I mean is operator lineup. Again, forgive us, it's late. We're seeing a double Intel lineup coming out. You've got the Maestro and you've got the Echo on side. About 2 years ago, they would have been involved in our trifecta of must-ban operators. It was always a combo of Echo, Maestro, and Mira. Those 3 were always taken off the board because they were just so oppressive. These days, a little bit less so. There are other operators you've got to ban away. Mira still being quite present in that mix, and Valkyrie definitely up there in terms of ban rate around the world. I'm pretty sure she is the most banned defender. Well, mine not too far behind as well. But at least with these 2 ops, they should have a good idea as to what's going on. What I do want to see from Geo is better use of the drones than what we saw coming out of Canadian. Not that Canadians were absolutely trash. He was using it to help collect information for the team, but there were none left to help them deny plants going down in the back corner of Sunrise itself. They're not on that site here, but Geo, I want to see him make good late round use of those yokais.
And thanks to our eagle-eyed observer, Easy, who doesn't miss a thing, I believe Merc has actually impacted one of the yokai drones. So they've actually taken some of that utility off themselves. Thank you for spotting that one, Easy. And it leaves them with only 1 now in play. And that could be a big, big loss for TSM here.
It's less than ideal. Very much less than ideal.
Very much less than ideal. Merc's playing up on the top floor again. We've seen him do this roam before, and he was very successful with it. Got himself a kill and managed to burn a ton of time. I think he got 2 kills, actually, and was able to burn a ton of time. So they need to deal with him better. Probably need to just push him at the same time. They know where he's going to be. They know that he's going to be Penthouse Theatre. Get in there and deal with him.
There we go. NJR starting up on the north side balcony. A couple of other members of DZ joining him, or at least out towards that northeast side. So looking no doubt towards the Penthouse there to control. C4s from below will not really be a big factor in this round, given no one has one. So they should be able to get control quite comfortably. Then all eyes turn towards NJR. They turn towards the 4 frag grenades still in the back pockets of members of DZ. But that's the dream kill. We spoke about this before. What a big achievement coming out of Merc. 2 kills shut down. It is answered very quickly by DZ. But you've got 2 fantastic operators. You've removed 2 frag grenades that were in the Maverick's back pocket. You've removed the Sledge, who you were relying on for all of this vertical destruction. The only thing that can help them there now is going to be the single impact in the back pocket of Canadian to open up holes in the floor. Dream start for TSM.
So you've really got to pick your place at that point, haven't you? Canadian is up there. He does have, I think, a couple of the explosive canisters left as well in his gadget, so could potentially open up a couple of holes, but it's certainly not going to be as many as they might have wanted. 45 seconds left to go in TSM. They are just pretty much committed here to holding down their positions, I think. We've got Bolo in behind the bar, and there's just a little bit of a showdown between him and Hyper now, but Hyper needs to be careful about his aggression here because he does have the diffuser in hand. Charla's going to take some damage. Oh! Bolo has the information from the gadget, just proximity alarm going off and letting him know that Hyper was pushing, but Hyper still somehow gets the kill, but they also lose one at the same time. 2v2, Pamba going in, shut down by Achieved.
Oh,
Hyper
boy.
gets Charla. It could be all up to Hyper here. He needs to find the last. He's going to go for the plant. 10 seconds left to go. I don't think Achieved's going to make it in time. The ping is there. Yes, he does. Simple as that. TSM take the round, take the map, and we're going to 3.
All the way through to Bank. Yeah, again, really can't overstate the impact of Merc starting kills there. It left things a little bit reliant on Hyper coming in from the Sunrise side to get the kills, and yes, he found them. But when it came down to a 1 versus 1, Achieved went big, being our MVP of the game as well. Found himself sat after that rehost at 7-3. Of course, we'll have the total stats for you after a short break, so we'll look at what that looks like then and talk more about it. But Tim, as expected, these 2 NA teams going blow for blow, taking each other's map and forcing out that 3rd decider. I can't wait for it.
I really can't. We knew that it was going to be close. I think Bank's going to be a great map for it because we're going to have big roaming battles. We're going to have a lot of gunfights there going on. And yeah, for me, I think they're TSM come away with a little bit of an advantage there. I've always said this, in the second map of a best of 3, when you win that, you carry that momentum forward, and TSM have got that advantage now.
Well, we'll find out, because also on the other stream, it's happening with BDS. Don't forget, they won 7-3 on Cafe in the second map. So if they carry it through, it's kind of bittersweet because it doesn't affect the standings at all. As a reminder, in case you've joined us late, BDS now cannot get out of the group. They are eliminated in the group stage of SI22. DZ are safe. Now it's all about playing for points and positioning. If they get this win today against TSM, then TSM go to 7 points and DZ go to 4. Still quite a bit to play for tomorrow, especially knowing that DZ have the head-to-head against TSM. There's still so much more to play for, not just in this series, but in the group as well. We'll go to a quick break, and when we come back, Bank joins us for the last map of the day. back to TSM versus DarkZero. We're going into map number 3, Bank, to close out day 4 of the group stage here at SI 2022. If you only just tuned in, I'm Des. This is Tim. We're pretty good mates. We talk about games sometimes for a bit of a living. And now we're about to talk about TSM versus DarkZero on Bank. Tim, hit me.
I think TSM have got a...
It gets wild the later the day goes on. I'm so sorry for that. Go on, Tim.
I think TSM have got a big advantage coming into this one. As I say, they take map number 2, which we can see the summary for there. For me, what's happened there, Des, when you compare that to the figures that we saw in the first map, DZ have just dropped off a little bit in terms of the kills, and TSM have pretty much stayed static, and they've kept that fight going.
Hyper's... These guys have had the longest quarrel forever on who plays what role on the team. Like, the fact Canadian's 3-2 on entry tells me a lot. He's not the designated entry. Hyper, I'm pretty sure, is meant to be. He was 0-3 on entry. Merc, as the guy that was taken off entry to be IGL and into a flex role, is 4-0 on entry. This game feels like it's gone back a few months to when these teams had the role changes around, and this is the product. It's great fun, it's chaotic, it's full of big 3K, 4K level rounds, but is it kind of what you want to see from these teams that means they'll go on to beat, you know, all the others when it comes to playoffs, for example? Maybe not.
Maybe not. As we say, I think TSM just managed to maintain the performance a little bit better through Coastline there. You know, maybe that's a little bit of a stamina or longevity thing as well, coming into these best of threes. You know, it really does take it out of you towards the end of that third map in particular. And we are now on day 4 of the group stages as well. You can't just sort of underestimate how full on that can be. You know, these players get here, they kick off with the media days, they do all that content, they've got practice every day, scrims,
I love Bolo's
meetings, there's so much going on for them, and then they've got the games on top of that. That it does take something to maintain that focus, and it's impressive on their side, but coming into...
There's a real irony in you saying you've got to maintain focus. I'm like, look at Bolo's sleeve. His sleeve is cool. I want to see it again in a minute, though, because I liked it. It was nice. If we go back there, I'll show you it, but for now, we don't know if we'll get a look at it.
We don't. We'll ask him for you and see where he got it from, Dan.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd really appreciate that, Tim. Can you ask him personally for me?
I mean, obviously we're not really, you know, we don't interact with the teams and the players.
Safe distance. You can shout at him down the hall.
Can shout if I see him. That's what I'm saying. I was going to say, if I see him down the corridor.
I want this artwork on my wall. Honestly, every time I see the Carly artwork, I don't know if it's because it looks kind of anime-like and I'm a bit of a weeb. I just look at it, I'm like, I want that artwork. It's so cool.
It's very, very cool. I said this earlier in the week, all the artwork that's been done. It's around the hotel as well. We're very fortunate. Like, we get in the lift and there's the artworks on the wall, getting in.
Do you remember was it frost mats on the floor in Sweden?
Yes.
And I was like,
we're in Sweden, Dad. We keep doing that, but we are in Sweden.
Every time
Last time we were in Sweden.
Hello? This ban. Monty, take it off the board, Tim.
Okay, interesting play coming in from TSM.
Whoa!
Okay.
What is this?
I mean, time's getting on, Des, and I think we've sort of stepped into a little bit of a new reality here.
I mean, we'll take it. Okay, even the Echo ban's a weird one. I'm just rifling through and looking at what ops they've played across these maps previously. Like, TSM, do they play Monty? Do they play Nook? Not really. They've played Nook once on the map, for example. They've never played Monty. DarkZero, looking over their stats as well on this map. They've played Monty 4, 6, 7 rounds out of the 28 they've played. Feels a little bit selective if you ask me, Tim. I guess it's to say, if you want to fall back on a Monty, oh wait, you can't do it because we've banned it. Unfortunate.
Open area is going to be our first site, an interesting one. We quite often see lockers down in the basement or CEO up on the top floor being the primary sites, but Staff and Open is gathering some momentum as a popular site here on Bank.
I would wager it's the most popular. I said this the other day where, you know, CEO has always been viewed as a bit of a bad site because of the windows that expose so much of it. And we've seen some really cool executes on this site, to be fair, where teams will take control of the windows, they'll smoke stuff out, they'll nade out key locations to force defenders back. They swing in, they plant, they get back out again. Easy peasy, 1, 2, 3. Basement can be a little bit restrictive because the hatches give you so much control. There's the flanks that come up through garage. We see that a lot of the time too. So really this is growing into being the go-to site for this map where a lot of teams will have it as their primary preference. Especially with Castle now having 4 barricades, you can really lock it down. And where you see Merc currently putting down his barricade off towards the right-hand side of the screen, thank you very much, Easy. What you'll see here normally is an attacker, a sledge, NJR in this case, smash that wall open, 3 of them burst into sight, and absolute chaos ensues. You can see some really fun executes on this site, so we'll be keeping a close eye out for that.
Interestingly, Geo bringing along the shotgun, Dev.
How interesting is that out of 10 to you, Tim?
It's a 9 out of 10.
Oh, interesting. What would make it a 10?
If they rush that double door.
I hate this. I get this all the time. I'll give like a rating out of 10 and people go, what will make it a 10? I'm just like, please stop asking that question.
If they rush that double door,
all right,
make it a 10.
Okay, okay.
The Alder can be the last bastion that holds down that rush. You just hold mouse 1 and chew through them as they try to come in through that double door. We've seen it a number of times, but it's not going to be possible here for TSM. But it doesn't look like the rush is going to come. Canadian going to take out... That's an interesting Rotero drone that he's used there. It not only takes out the castle barricade on the window, it also takes out a large portion of the soft wall next to it as well. So it just gives a little bit of access into sight. Hyper's moving in aggressively to the top floor here on that entry job, looking to find himself some entries this time. 0 and 3, I believe he was on Coastline, so he's going to be looking to improve those numbers.
I mean, Roteros, you know me, Tim? Big fan of the Roteros. Big fan as well of Pamba. Shutting down Bolo, who had a wicked time on the last map, is traded out immediately onto the other side. So that trend of trades continues. We really have had 2 very different series here today. I mentioned earlier on about M&M and Empire. We never saw a trade in the whole series. I feel like almost every single entry kill in this series has been a trade.
We're going to see another kill coming from Canadian there.
Brilliant.
It just made me laugh when you said M&M followed by Empire. It sounds like you've got stuck in a loop saying the first name.
M&M Empire. That's hard to say.
M&M and Empire. It just sounds like for a second you've just got stuck in a little loop. Hyper, he's going to be using those verticals now. He's on the book and he's opening them up at will. There's also Sledge up there. NJR just trying to again get angles down into sight. DarkZero have done well so far. They've managed to get themselves a couple of kills, just backing Pamba up after he got the opener on Tabolo, and this exothermic charge on the wall here should take the castle barricade with it as well, I would imagine. We'll see as soon as it's detonated. Definitely. There goes the trigger, there goes the castle barricade, and the next one is likely to go on that quad wall. Just finds the spot in the middle between the mute jammers, gets access into sight. This is like a piece of Swiss cheese inside of sight right now, Des.
It's all opening up, but they've just stared down the final boss, the evil eye that lurks at the bottom side of kitchen, just warning the defenders to where's this push going to come from, who's going to push at me, in what form will they come, how many of them are there. It will give a lot of information over to the defenders. So for the boys of DarkZero, this is looking like a bit of a challenge right now. You've even got Achieved lurking off towards the sides. He knows that there's drones on him. He knows that intel, or utility, sorry, is being thrown at him too. NGR drops down. They've gone for the site. They said, forget about Achieved. We've got to get a plant down, boys. We've got a job to do. Eclipse sticking it out here, should be able to finish it off. Canadian round to one side as well. They will stick this and get back out again. It's a 2 versus 3. TSM got a lot of work to do to be able to swing this one back, but NGR goes nuts with a pistol, finds himself a 3K, achieved the same in the round, but this looks to be a closeout, I think, for DZ here, Tim.
Certainly does. It's going to be very difficult. Achieved cannot beat NJR, who's on the pistol, gets our final kill, and what a play. What a play from DarkZero there on the attack. They just opened sight up. Absolutely every angle was theirs to use, including vertical, and then I particularly like the play from Canadian as the diffuser was going down. He just absolutely belted Throne Utility into sight there and just made it practically impossible for TSM to be able to challenge onto that plant that was coming in. So well played from DarkZero. Love to see it, and so much so that TSM, they feel the need to mix things up and they're going to head down to the basement.
They're going to step away. Is this a spicy pick coming out from Canadian? A Capital maybe? I've seen them play that a couple of times on maps like, okay, go on. Be a boy, stick it. Yes, okay, Tim. We get to see an Osa being brought through here. We've seen it employed by a couple of teams throughout the tournament, mainly Cyclops, just mentally tormenting people with it is the only way I can describe when they were attacking into Snowmobile earlier on today and had 2, on Chalet this was, and they had 2 Osa shields positioned just inside the doorway. It was an absolute nightmare. Love to see what Canadian's going to do with it here as well. It's a change to drop away 2 frag grenades inside, but I think with those 2 shields, assuming you get them in the right position, you can do a lot of damage.
Certainly can. Certainly can. Achieved. He's going to barricade off a lot in open area. He's trying to prevent any access coming in there. Obviously the hatches are very popular. I would imagine, given that they've not been reinforced, we might see TSM just looking to choose to play with them open to be able to sort of deny from there themselves, which means they really need to keep hold of open and staff, which we've got the mirror window in place to try and do that. They're going to try and hold on to it, but Canadian for the time being, he's going to try and push in on the Ossa and just get some ground inside a server. Now, I pronounced that slightly different to you.
Pronounced it wrong.
No, we had a conversation about it earlier. I'm not going to be able to get it right because I'm an English speaker.
What? You're saying I'm not an English speaker?
No, I just mean because Medics, we were talking to our resident Croatian Medics about it, and he was telling us about the pronunciation.
Ossa.
It's somewhere in between.
Ossa.
Yeah, it's more Ossa, but with a slightly shorter O. But I think it's just a sound that I struggle to make because it's not one.
That's because you're northern, mate. There's no other reason.
Yeah, exactly. It's the accent.
Well, Thermite Wall is open in record time. 50 seconds is the way I calculate that one, Tim. They're really getting a jiggle on here in the round and making things count. Now, for Canadian, he's looking towards getting these shields down. The big issue is he's got to deal with things like C4s coming out. Impacts will also have an impact. There are smoke canisters to bait out. So for the next 45 seconds or so, you'll just see this merry dance between the two teams as they try and bait each other out. Canadian feeding a bit of information in, and look at where he's got himself set up. Almost gets himself shot down. A smoke has come out, and now he can hold nice and shallow if he wants to, whilst others go in for a plant. Canadian's in. Can he get away with this? Because they've got the smokes raining in, and there's Bolo on the swing, finding him from above because they didn't bother getting control of open area.
That is the problem. As we said, TSM looking to really put some weight behind the defense of that area, and it's paying dividends. Hyper manages to level things up with a kill on to achieve. Leaves it at 4 versus 4. DarkZero, a point in their credit, have control over server. TSM, a point in theirs. They still have control over open area and the hatches. So for me, DarkZero, they've got to do something about this mid-floor, Des. There's no way they can push in and try and get the diffuser down if they still have those players present. Pamba manages to take down Charla. There's 2 inside of open. I think one's dropped back. It will be Merc who's going to go down the hatch and get himself back into sight. A lot of damage done, and DarkZero have got above Des. No, Bolo's still there. Can they track him down? Yes, they get the kill. Hyper steps in. DarkZero have got everything they need, Des. They just need to go in and get that diffuser down.
Got the smoke in. That should be the go sign. That's now's the time to step in and go for the plant. Doesn't matter so much where you go, it more matters that you get the plant down. There is 1 smoke canister left for Geo here, but there's been a pause for DarkZero. They've retrieved the diffuser and stopped, and as the smoke times out, that's when they make their move. Smoke canister comes out. Eclipse, not being even tickled by it, will try and stick this plant through. Gets it off, and it's a 4 versus 2 for DarkZero. This has been a phenomenal attack, which we'll summarize afterwards. But for now, TSM have got to pull off one hell of a retake. Geo left all alone, being stared at by that Gemini clone. He can do nothing to stop this one, even being tickled out by these members of DarkZero. He's into a 3 or 4 way crossfire. This one may just find itself going all the way down to the clock because they've also got an Osa for NJR to play behind. That's unbelievable.
What we're seeing here is one of the real powers of Osa, trying to use her to get...
Look at him, 360.
That's it, using the Osa shield to try and move in and, you know, create the plant is, I think, difficult sometimes. But once it's down, once the diffuser's there, very, very difficult to play up against. Nice to see something different out of that site, both from defense and attack. I love the use of the Osa shield as well there. Great plays from DarkZero. They almost fell into the TSM trap, but they reacted very well to it.
They did, and what I loved about that was the decisiveness. I said I'd talk about it after the round was over. The decisiveness at which they realised, okay boys, we cannot make this plant work unless we have hatch control. Immediately, 3 players from DarkZero scatter out of sight. You had NJR, Hyper, and I forget who it was on the headband. I'm going to say it's Pamba because he's on it in this round. They just all went and started focusing on getting control of open area and staff so they could force the members back onto site. They killed 2. They forced Merc back down to site. He drops into a crossfire that was being held by Hyper, and before you know it, you're down to a 4 versus 1 against Geo with the plant being stuck. It was just great decision making and really in the moment sort of, okay, this is a problem, here's the solution, go and execute. Far and away different from what we saw back on Villa when they find themselves stalling out in time, getting caught up in the checklist and not wanting to deviate too much. You're almost seeing an evolution here on Bank to what we saw back on map 1, and might just be a sign again that DarkZero are really warming into the tournament.
DarkZero look terrifying.
They do look really good.
In the first couple of rounds, they look extremely good. If I were a TSM fan, I would be a little bit concerned right about now, because it looks like DarkZero could well walk away with a strong advantage after the first half if this continues. TSM, they're going to try to hold down Archives and Tellers for round number 3. It's going to mean a strong top floor presence, I would imagine. Bolo's up there on the castle at the minute, just barricading a few of those windows, trying to create himself a little bit of a safe space. Also just barricaded off down in main lobby as well. So it's all going to be initially about holding on to the top floor for TSM.
Look, Hunter Canadian off trying to see what he can find in the basement. I don't think he'll find anyone, as no one's currently down there. Most of them all stationed around the top floor. But you never know what late round flankers he might come across and be able to shut down. It was on the Jackal back on Coastline where he found himself a 4K, so you can't blame him for wanting to get back on this operator despite being forced away onto the ace just the very next round. Merc holding inside a staff and open is probably where Canadian should be putting his efforts, mind you. Has a view of the window above him as well as the longer one out towards Bleepers, so controlling large parts of the map just from this one position, but it does mean he's stretched quite thin. Pamba, Hyper, NJR, they're all going to know this as he's being pushed in here from a couple of sides. Canadian coming up behind him as well towards Bleepers. He's not going to be long for this world if things carry on this way.
Canadian.
Oh, Canadian.
Sees him.
Oh,
he gets
no!
one. He gets two. Big play from Canadian to open up round 3. And the DarkZero train keeps rolling, Des. They are unstoppable right now on Bank. There is absolutely nothing that TSM can do about this. They have to drop the hatch out of Janitors just to keep themselves with another man alive in the round. And DarkZero are just walking through this map at will at the minute.
Oh my word, at this point TSM are playing chess and DarkZero, well, they're playing 4D chess underwater and upside down in Australia. It's incredible the read that they just had. Canadian working his way through basement comes up at the perfect time as TSM send 2 members to go and support Mert playing inside of open area, and he catches both off. A beautiful flank, and TSM with no idea it was happening. The whole team are being completely decimated. It's not quite a 4K for Canadian, but it's a 4K for the team as they might be able to end this one out here without losing a single man. It's going to be a flawless round, and my word, DarkZero in full control on Bank.
This is just getting better and better from DarkZero now, pushing us to a flawless round as well. Huge play from Canadian on the stairs there, just managing to get himself into a position to flank the... Look at this, we've got the replay of it. Comes around, gets a Chief, gets Bolo, and just absolutely opens TSM up.
It's funny because 20 seconds prior we'd said our Merc's alone. He's covering a large part of the map here. He's being pressed by 3 people. He must have made the call and said, guys, I need backup. Can you come and join me? And sure enough, they come down main stairs, acknowledging that the pressure isn't on the top floor. No one's coming in square. No one's in lobby. And they think, okay, we've got the flexibility to move. But it was all a ruse. It was well played by Canadian and by DarkZero, as said. 3 rounds on the bounce. They have looked incredibly dominant at this point. You know, not losing a single man in the last round, only having 1 go down in the prior round. Sure, they lost 3 in the one before that, but we've seen all sorts from them. A brilliant flank. We've seen the Osa shield. We've seen 3 pistol kills out of NJR. They're not just winning, Tim. They're winning in style.
Just wondering if we're going to get DarkZero onto the defense here, and it's going to be a case of 2 teams
honestly
who just can't defend Bank, and we're going to see TSM
look,
basically the flip reverse.
They've rewarded him. DarkZero said, you know what, Troy? You deserve it. Play Jackal for another round. Go and do that again. You got a 4K last time. You got a 2K the round a second ago. Like, why not? Go for it, buddy. Have fun.
Have another go. Right. TSM going to be defending top floor this time around. It's going to be CEO that they try to hold on to, so we would expect to see some window play from DarkZero potentially.
And it doesn't feel right seeing achieved on Goyo and not Bolo. Bolo's always normally the Goyo player, and here he's on the Pulse. Like, that's very weird. You'd expect maybe to see Mert playing on that role and you give the Wamai over to Bolo normally. Surely it's a team decision, of course, and they've come up with this idea for the map. Just something I saw and was like, man, that's really weird. I'm still traumatized by 12 months ago Bolo destroying BDS with the Goyo, but here it's Canadian destroying him. Tim, I'm telling you,
keep it on the Jackal.
Canadian is jacked on Jackal. Let him play it more.
Keep him on the Jackal. He gets another entry, taking down Bolo, but not just Bolo, Des. It's the Pulse and it's the Nitro. Great utility removed. I don't think he knows that Achieved was down there. This could be a freebie for Achieved. saved. It is nice and easy into the back of Canadian 4v4, and he disappears back off into the basement. DarkZero will know that he's down there now, so they can just try and cut off the stairs. I think that's what Hyper's doing initially, just trying to see if he pops up main stairs there, but he's not going to catch Achieved, because for the time being, I think he's keeping himself downstairs.
Jacked on Jackal. I'm using that one in future more, I think.
Keep hold of that one.
I shall do, mate. No problem. Here we go, though. NGR is downstairs in the basement, looking for Achieve. Knows that he's fell back down here, but isn't quite sure where he's gone to, and likely not going to get any resources to help him on the drone. Bearing in mind, ladies and gents, we are on the top floor site here. Eclipse going to find Achieved, and now they know. There's two of them looking to press into him. You've got the Iana coming on one side of things. You've still got one coming in from the south side too, so he is very much penned in. Eclipse also in as the jaws of death collapse around here. Achieve finally shuts out, but elsewhere Charla has found NJR, and NJR was pushing down into basement as well, so he must have moved himself back upstairs only for Charla to get the conversion potentially through the hatch, and that's a good way to neutralize things out here. 3 versus 3.
Beautiful kill from Hyper. That absolutely love it, using the nade to make the man move. Now then, 3 versus 3. Charla holds on to the mirror, looking into Janitor. DarkZero now approaching Square Skylight side of things. It's time to get things moving in the round here. They've decided maybe get that hard breach off, get the wall open, and start to make life difficult. Eclipse is currently on the rappel. It looks like him and Hyper are maybe just going to swap over so that he can get in and get the hard breach off on the wall. 35 seconds left to go. He's got diffuser in hand as well, so DarkZero certainly got the tools that they need, but they could do with dealing with some of the last defenders. Hyper does exactly that, finds a kill onto Merc. They have access to site. It is now all down to time. There comes the challenge.
Beautiful.
Hyper finds Charla. Geo can't find his man on the main stairs. Eclipse is planting, and DarkZero are looking to take round 4, which will be the 4th in a row for them. Geo, no angle to prevent the diffuser going down. He's just trying to try and take these fights and find whatever he can. He's down to about 15 health, and surely his minutes are numbered left in this one. It's Pamba who steps out and gets the kill, and that's going to be round number 4 going to DarkZero.
So we had it nearly all now as well. A 3k out of Hyper in a round, just to add to the long list of awesome things happening in this game for DZ. Like, if you said to me they're coming to attacking TSM on Bank before they're up, I'd tell you, shut up. Look at how the last few days have gone. There's no way it happens, but they are dominating them so far, Tim. Understandably so, TSM have now called a tactical timeout because nothing is going right for them. They have played every single site on the map, and none have looked particularly convincing.
The thing is, and I said this coming into the tournament, is I believe might be a technical timeout, actually. I think we've just got a little issue.
Oh.
We're just going to get ironed out. I'm sure it won't take us very long. Yeah, I said this coming in. The exciting thing about the Invitational is that anybody can beat anybody. You know, you come in, DarkZero have a bad couple of games, sure, but then they come up against TSM, they can beat them. Anybody can beat anybody. We saw it, you know, a surprise victory for Elevate, I think it's fair to say at the time. You know, they will come through and just have all these surprise results. But right now, DarkZero, it's not about the result that's a surprise. It's about the fact that they're just getting run over.
Absolutely. I apologise, Tim. I was too busy not talking to you and talking to the wonderful people behind the scenes.
Just trying to confirm the timeout.
Yeah, I was just confused because I saw, I'll be honest about it, I saw the microphone down for Pojo and was like, well, is that technical or tactical? But turns out you control the mute, so it's okay if his mic is down, just that it's perma-muted and therefore no issue. As Easy informed me, I've been educated by Easy. That happens quite regularly.
He knows what he's talking about.
He does. He's a smart man. Beautiful man. Could be a model.
Any strings to his bow. Open area and staff will be round number 5 for TSM. They defended it back in round number 1. Can you guess who won that one, Des?
No.
It was DarkZero.
Oh, really?
It was, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, it was. DarkZero won the attack onto Open and Staff. They basically just opened up every angle into sight that they could. They opened up the triple wall. They opened up the double door. They opened up the window. They were just making it a nightmare for TSM to play anywhere inside of there. Canadian just rained utility into the back end of sight underneath the hatch, and they just got the plant down. It was as easy as that for them. So ultimately now DarkZero are probably going to try to do much of the same. TSM, they really need to find some sort of stability here because this one is spiraling out of control quickly.
It is. It's been a slow start for several members as well. Bolo on 1 kill, Merc on none, Charla on 1, Geo on none. You know, Cheat is the only one really who's had an impact in the game so far, and even then, that impact is very limited. 6 kills across 4 rounds. It's not really a record you want to be commanding, Tim. You want one that says, I'm dominant and we're going to win this game. But so far, we're not getting that feeling from TSM. Achieved is up on the top floor here, joined out by the castle of Merc, and looking to see what damage they can do. So far, the answer is none. So much so, they're going to back away, get themselves back down main stairs and hightail it into the basement, where hopefully there is not going to be a lurking Canadian waiting for them.
The Rotero drone from Canadian there, very, very nice. Used for that soft breach capability, opens up a hole in stock wall and helps force those players away from the top floor. It was in conjunction, of course, with Hyper out on the windows as well. He's got the drones at his feet. He's pushing forward on the entry here, trying to be aggressive. Those drones not too far in front of him, so he's able to react quickly to the information ahead of him. But right now, DarkZero are happy that they have got their top floor control, using those EMPs from above, nice and safe to be able to just take out those cameras ahead of them. And TSM, they're scrambling at the minute, just sort of switching around positions, getting, it feels like a little bit uncomfortable here.
Staying quite fluid though, keeping themselves moving, not staying in one place for too long. The problem is the pressure will start to mount up here. Pamba, ooh, with a great shot towards elevators, but doesn't connect. It looks surely like he might have found his man, but instead takes some damage back on his own side. Gonna get swung on by them. What is this? There's a Lucy right inside him here, going to flash it out, step in and get the kill. Baited him out with the grenade, gets the shutdown. It was a couple of seconds after a teammate had already gone down though. NJR falling by the wayside.
That's going to be one kill apiece, 4 versus 4. Achieved is going to find himself at the hands of Canadian once again. His kill total is racking up now, 5 kills, and he is going well on the Flores and doing damage, looking for the man in tellers. He's going to just step himself away, get to safety in electrical, because he's still got 2 Rotero drones that may be needed to get in and clear utility out. That is terrible timing for Pamba. He throws the flash away in disgust. He knows that was an opportunity for him to pick up the man at the bottom of elevators. Charlotte manages to find Hyper, 3 versus 3, and this is a lot more competitive from TSM.
Gio, the little bookworm here, snaking his way through archives, daring on the man to come stepping in. He just keeps on moving between these different shelving units, trying to find the man as he steps in. What a shot coming out from Pamba. 3 versus 2, but they've got to make the plan happen. Eclipse is the one that you're looking for to make this happen. Charla, full flash, pulls on the Elder, but it might be a bit too little too late. There it comes in, they get the shutdown, and DarkZero take round 5. That's 5 in a row, Tim. What is going on?
I can hear DarkZero from here, and I just get the feeling they knew that round was sort of on a knife edge a number of times. It wasn't guaranteed for them. They had to fight for that one, but fight they did, and they managed to grasp a hold of it, and in the end that utility just proved king to get them a couple of cheap kills that were able to take them over the line. And a great start from DarkZero. Honestly, Des, I keep saying about NA, come on NA, we want that great performance, and this is just getting me excited now because we've got another NA team that are really starting to do the business.
Oh, change. It's a Jackal. I was really hoping to see Osa come out again, but tried it once. Maybe it's a one-time strat, but then we'll see it come out again in the playoffs. Here, it's Canadian not going onto the Jackal, which has been by far and away his most successful operator in terms of kills in the series. He'll stick on the Flores. It's Hyper moving across onto the Roam, clearing duties. Imagine a lot of that will be looking in towards Merc, who, as we've seen, has been off-site an awful lot, and also towards Bolo playing on the Vigil. Last time we were on this site, it was a little bit of madness, mind you. They did have this double reinforced. They reinforced the window, then stepped back and reinforced the double doorway. The idea being, if even one of those survive, then, well, great. They can't come pushing in so easily. And unless NGR is the one that rotates down there and smashes it through, you've got nothing to worry about. NGR did spawn up towards tunnel towards the northeast last time, so didn't want to rotate down there to get that cleared out. Imagine we'll have the same story again in this round.
More than likely. Achieved applying the castle barricades, locking everything down. We've got Charla with the default mirror down inside a site. That's just to try and help prevent the plant as and when that comes through.
Ding dong.
We know, Des, that this mid floor is the important bit. We said it last time. They didn't really realise it last time, I don't think, DarkZero. They went straight into servers, but they had to then come back upstairs and clear this out.
Hey,
as soon as they
go to the right. Can we see this double white panel comes up? No, it doesn't. Okay. I saw it go onto the electric wall, and I was wondering if when it destroyed the soft wall off to the right, it would also get rid of the panel, but it didn't.
No. As soon as they got the floor cleared out, it was pretty much done and dusted. Hatch is reinforced. I don't know if the other hatch is. I don't think it will be. No, it is now. You see, this is it. It's making TSM a little bit more tentative about this top floor hold as well. They want to keep hold of the hatches, whereas last time they had them open. They wanted to use them, but this time just a little bit different.
Just a smidge. Look at this, look. Hyper on the stairs. There is one more playing above and also has potential challenge coming in from that front desk. So doesn't want to go too aggressively down here. Will happily sit on the top floor for now. Not forgetting that it is the basement we are trying to attack into. So at some point, he's going to have to make a move. And Bolo, the one currently holding inside of Tellers, steps back into Archives, concerned about being challenged out towards the east. But no one has really yet moved their way in. You've got Eclipse playing on the upstairs, but doesn't really have an angle down into him just yet. Waiting for him to come stepping up to a window. And here he goes. Sees the man and gets the shot. Critical headshot to land onto Bolo, and a second follows through. The floodgates have opened up. The down busters are in. Their name is DarkZero, as Canadian finds a second in the round, a 5 versus 2, as they look to complete the perfect attacking half on Bank.
And that's it now. DarkZero are in complete control of the map. It's all up to Charla and Gio down on site, and boy, have they got their work cut out for them now. Not only are they 2v5, but they're 2v5 against a team that are playing with supreme confidence at the minute. Eclipse drops. He looks now to get that wall open. They've all the time in the world. There's here DarkZero. They're going to get the plant spot access that they want, and they can start pushing forward to try and get that diffuser down. They can bait out the last little bit of utility, which will be the nitro. Here it comes, potentially. Charles just going to hold on to it for the time being. He needs to get this right. He needs to wait for the perfect moment. He can't go too early with this. He's seen the second wall opened up. He knows it's dangerous. It's a waste, Des. It's not going to connect with anybody, and that signals to Eclipse that he can go in and get the diffuser down. His cover gets killed as well. Charla 1v5, it could be flawless. No, he stops that at least. The diffuser is completed. Charla just bouncing around red corridor. Canadian picks him up. DarkZero 6-0.
Who the fuck said it?
Sounds good, doesn't it? DarkZero 6-0 on attack on Bank of all things too. What a performance coming out of the boys. And just to stress again just how badly this is currently looking for TSM. They've got, I think, 11 kills across 6 rounds. That's less than 2 kills a round on average. Things are not looking good, and understandably so. They want to call themselves in a timeout. It could even be technical at this point, as the headset was slightly off Merc's head there for a second. But no matter what kind of timeout it's going to be, things are not looking good for TSM. You know, this could be a 7-0 to DarkZero, Tim.
I believe again it is technical. Probably just, I don't know whether it's the same issue cropping up or, but we will get it resolved rapidly. I am certain. We haven't had any that have been more than a couple of minutes. Really. So we'll be getting back into things. If anything, maybe this works for TSM, you know, in their favour a little bit. I don't know if it's maybe a technical issue on their side that's, you know, then on the flip side going to make things a little bit more difficult for them. But at least it gives them a minute to just try and find a breather, just to try and find some way to get back into this, because DarkZero are just running over them roughshod right now. There is absolutely nothing they can do to put the brakes on. DarkZero are a runaway train, Des, and they are coming at TSM at pace.
Chew, goddamn chew. Let's go. I thought earlier on, actually, you know, the whole like M&M Empire thing we were talking about, a bit of a tongue twister. Do you remember the old ones that I gave you at a previous event? I want to bring them back to life.
I don't remember them specifically.
Well, I want you to try this one for me, Tim. I've got 2 for you to try whilst we're in this little pause. First one, try saying Irish wristwatch several times over. Quite fast as well, mind you.
Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch.
That's not bad, actually.
That one okay.
That was pretty good. I'd love to know what those at home are doing with that as well. The other one is genuine, unique New York.
This one is a tough one. You have asked me this one before.
Definitely have.
It's quite a tough one. So genuine, unique New York. See, this is the sort of thing that we do sometimes.
Stop talking your way around it, Tim, and try and say it.
This is the sort of thing that we do sometimes as casters to warm up, to try and get our tongue round words a little bit quicker.
Yeah, we do.
But genuine, I can't even do it slowly. Genuine, unique New York. Genuine, unique New York.
Hey,
it wasn't too bad, but
I
wasn't really. I know I'm going to be getting called out in chat. I wasn't really pronouncing the unique properly.
Nah, you were kind of cheating.
It was a little bit. It was just sort of merging. It was just sort of becoming one word.
So that's the whole idea, right? Because your tongue's got to try and work your way around so many sounds in repeated succession. It can be great fun. And look, I stumble over the most common of words. Trying to say things like that, I got
so do I, like plant spot.
Oh, plant pot. Someone, by the way, if you're still watching and you were here for that joke earlier on, Bill and Ben, the flower pot men, if anyone has got a Photoshop or wants to go and Photoshop that with me and Tim's face on it, I'll love you forever. I'll even give you a shout out for it because it's well deserved. That'll just make...
You're a generous man.
That will make my group stage. Look, what can I say? capitalising on Labour with a bit of social media shout-out commentary.
Man. You're a very generous man, I say that.
Look, earlier on I had from Spry Bunny, whatever his name was, when he was like, just shout out how many plants Shepard has got in Tier 1 lands. It's over 100, he's the first player to pass that mark. All he wanted was for me to say that they've done it. He didn't want anything for it.
Sometimes it's just for the numbers, Des.
Exactly.
You wouldn't understand.
It's just for the numbers. For us, it's just all about Bill and Ben, the flower pot men.
The numbers.
Ace and Des, the flower. How can we even make that rhyme?
You can't.
Let's stop trying.
I'm going to tell you now, your name is difficult.
You know what rhymes with 0, though?
0.
Yes, and that's exactly how many rounds TSM have got on bank. They need to find something on the attacking half here if they want any hope of keeping this series going and securing that first place spot. Because as a reminder, if you get a map, you get 1 point. If you win a series 2-0, you get 3. So right now, both teams are walking away with at least 1 point. DarkZero want 2, so they can jump ahead of Elevate. They've already kept themselves way ahead of BDS, who finish in last place. So now it's a question of, do you start the playoffs in the lower bracket, which is where 4th place starts? Do you start in round 1 of the upper bracket, which is where 2nd and 3rd place go? Or do you start in round 2 of the upper bracket, which is where 1st place goes? And this is still a very open conversation. It's a very open skull, apparently. Canadian losing his to Merc, who managed to weasel his way in past Beepers. And Canadian might want to check his ears, because I'm pretty sure they heard those going off as well just a few seconds prior.
Right, good start for TSM. They've got themselves the opener. They've got a toehold inside of the round. That's going to be a good first step for them. They need to build on it now. They need to find some confidence because they've been beaten up here on bank. There's absolutely no two ways about it. Eclipse keeps getting drawn out inside of the elevator. He's going to dip himself away. Bolo for the time being. He's going to continue the drone in ahead of him. He's got himself confidently to the top of main stairs, so he's happy that top floor is in their control now. Then Eclipse is going to come back here, takes the drone, but Merc doesn't have an opportunity to take his shot. Halfway through the round, it's still advantage TSM, but there is still a number of things that need to be dealt with before they can pressure onto site.
They do. There's a bit of work to do, although finding the 1 is never going to be a bad start for yourself. And even a bit of work going on underneath here for Pamba, who's going to spring his way back up into sight nice and easy. Of course, the hat-chopping benefit of Oryx you don't really get to see all that often. You and I constantly reference the one time we saw it work in LATAM, where there was a wonderful multi-kill flank coming as a result of an Oryx getting underneath the enemy team, but it isn't something you see all that much. It's more for the fact that he can charge around, charge through a line where he might get shot, and normally gets away with it.
Scardenia can have his mention at
That's
Six
the one.
Invitational 2022 for that
Cool
play.
name,
It was
by the
on
way.
Villa, and it was an absolute belter.
Oh, achieved.
Is down. Could this be the beginning of the end for TSM, Des? 35 seconds left to go. 4-4. They're going to burn out the first exothermic charge. Hyper was there, ready. He knows there could be a challenge from above, and he's ready for it. 25 seconds left to go. TSM, a lot of work to do here. Geo going and looking. Merc finds Pamba. It's all starting to happen for TSM, but is there enough sand left in the hourglass? They're going to drop the hatch. There it goes. Gets 1. Can't find the second. Surely they can get this diffuser down now. Merc on a triple for the round. TSM start the plant. Bolo needs to keep on it. Merc shuts him down. Flawless round. And what a response from TSM.
Okay, TSM, we see you. We understand how this is going to play out. We might be in for a really spicy second half here, Tim, if it goes all the way through to OT. And that's one way to say we are still here to play. We want to get ourselves closer to securing that first place spot. I was about to say plant pot again then, Tim. It's in my mind at this point, but it's been a
Nice
wonderful...
plant pot.
It's been a flawless round. They did almost lose members a couple of times with them going down, but not completed by the side of DZ. They're going to change up their site here, head down into the basement instead. And we're getting a Chanka and a Smoke coming along in tandem.
Honestly, the way that this game has gone so far, it would not surprise me. I'm going to say it now. It would not surprise me in the slightest to see this run back by TSM now and to go
right.
It just would not surprise me in the slightest to see something like that. As you said, we're going down to the basement this time around. Canadian on the pulse. So where are we going to see Canadian play, you might wonder? Well, I would expect to see him possibly in gold bars near red corridor. He'll have that heartbeat scanner out and he'll basically be scanning through through the wall to see exactly what's going on at the bottom of blue stairs, inside a server, feeding that information. He can pop out and use the Nitro if he wants. He can feed information into NJR so he can use those shumikers to try and burn out the plant spot and prevent access.
Plant what, sorry, Tim?
Plant spot.
Ah, very good.
I nailed it both times. Pambazoo is there with the smoke canisters as well. There's a lot of utility here towards Denial, and a lot of that is going to revolve around Canadian and the information he's feeding.
Pulse in gold bars played by Canadian.
A classic.
So many memories.
El Clasico, you might say.
An El Clasico, the El Clasico of Siege. We'll see how the Denial game plays out, though. Only 2 C4s on side. Yep, it's not the end of the world because you, of course, have those smokes and the shumikers, as you've just shared with us, Ace. It's going to be about the time-wasting game again, because let's not forget, for DarkZero on their attacks, they had this wall open inside 50 seconds. They did ignore open area in the process and had to rotate around to go and get that once that opened the wall up, but they were nice and pacey about things. So for TSM, a team that throughout this series and throughout the group stage has shown they can be pretty good with the clock. We've got to show they can repeat that once more.
They're aware of Eclipse's presence now. The drone spotting him out. He's just going to play on the edge of this hatch. Now that he's been drawn out again, he is going to take the choice to drop. I thought that might come rather than try to hold on to the position too hard. Bolo's already on main stairs. He's looking to potentially move his way down. Drones are raining around. If Bolo can move down there without being spotted out by the defenders, that could be particularly dangerous. Canadian's got himself into his spot in gold bars now, so he's just going to feed information in. We've got one man on blue stairs as well. It's Pamba on the smoke. Shotgun in hand. I imagine he'll have a lot of utility stacked up there as well. I always love to watch those blue stairs fights.
Just robot wars. So many drones racing around. It's like an infestation. Whether you're attacker or defender, they are just everywhere. Nice alternative got, by the way, to having to bring 2 hard breaches like the side of DZ did, is, of course, the secondary hard breach gadgets. Those who had them before, so operators like Buck, looking in towards the Zero here today too, have 2 of them now rather than just the 1. So in a way, you're like a bit of a crap thermite, should we say. You can still get things opened up. It's like a Hibana, like 4 pellet sized hole. You can vault through it, for example. It's not going to completely destroy a wall for you like thermite would. It's still there if you want the really big holes, but it's still quite valuable just for things like hatches.
Merc looking to potentially sneak into garage, Des. He's got a little yellow ping, but DarkZero are aware of his position. This is an interesting little battle we've got. Hyper lets him move across to the other side, but the challenge continues. What a kill from NJR, taking down Bolo. A cheat finds Canadian 4v4, but the kills rain in 3v3, and it's this constant back and forth that we've seen of this game. Merc manages to explode his way into garage with a kill onto NJR. 1v3, all up to Pamba, taken down. Geo for a double at the end, and TSM, they get their second, Des. I don't want to get overexcited. It's 1 round at a time right now, but TSM, they have got a third of what they need.
I'll get excited when they've been through all 4 sites in the same way DZ did, because if you remember, TSM played open area into basement, into Tellers and Archives, into CEO, then open again, then basement. Once they hit the end of that 4th round, in which Hyper got a big 3K, that's when it was like, oh, game on now. TSM will not be able to get their way back into this. And rather than pulling the brakes a little bit later on, like TSM did in the first half, DarkZero have called it now. They want a one-stop solution. They need 1 round, surely. You can't throw a game from being 6-0 up. They need to close it out here and now, and they've got to pick a strat that works. As it stands, they may be returning back down to the basement. That is currently the site that we have got hovered. Either way, there's got to be some special idea, something coming out here that's going to catch TSM off guard. Otherwise, I can again see them building up the momentum, and before you know it, we'll be in overtime.
I mean, would it be a 3rd map that you and I were casting, Des, if it didn't go to overtime? That's the question, really. But, you know, one way or another, we're going to find out pretty quickly whether we get there, because there are no more mistakes for TSM. They've got to do this from here. Tactical pause for DarkZero. They're obviously a little bit rattled after the 2 rounds, but I'm sure they're not going to be overly scared just yet. But this is a team that knows, you know, they've got the experience sat there in Canadian Des. He's well aware of how comebacks happen. He's been on the receiving end of them. You know, it's not going to be a big surprise that it's a possibility.
So basement it is going to be. Let's see how things shape up. The Zero is being taken away. The Maverick is stepping in. So, what does that mean? Well, we still have the same hatch opening capabilities. Maverick able to comfortably open up 2, but it also reintroduces more frags into the game. They're going to have 6 now in this round rather than the 4 they had before. So let's keep an eye on those and see how many they can find. I've touched already a couple of times in this series on how teams will bring a lot of frags and find no kills with them. Really, you want to be yeeting those down through hatches in towards red and trying to catch out a couple of members of DarkZero who are sat inside there. Most ideally, NJR, because he's the one who's got those 3 smokes in the back pocket that can really run the clock down.
He does. I mean, last time we saw him playing a lot of the round on blue stairs. We'll see whether that's something the DarkZero choose to do again or not. It looks like they're going to be putting a lot more utility into the mid floor this time around. So they're going to try what TSM did the first time they looked to hold on to this site. It was unsuccessful for the defenders then. Will it be unsuccessful again? TSM looking to move into the map at this point. Bolo just shooting out the windows, going to get himself upstairs. It's pretty much what he's done every single time, is get himself in through the windows, drawn ahead of him, and then move down main stairs to pressure wherever is needed around the map. TSM managed to attack from multiple angles last time. They had Merc moving through the garage. I don't think that they'll probably look to do the same again because they're going to need to focus more towards this area.
Absolutely. I do like how DarkZero have taken on this plan of, you know, waste more time. Don't just sit on site and wait for them to come to you, because that's when they've hit you like a truck and run away with the round. So slowing them down in open area a little bit, not a bad shout. We had Eclipse playing on the Jaeger in the previous round, doing something not massively dissimilar. And a lovely little donut being opened up inside the castle barricade is going to pop it open for Charlotte. Nice and easy to walk on through. They want to ideally get rid of Eclipse, who again is sat on this hatch. They have got a lovely jammer right in front of the doorway, mind you, and they'll know if someone comes vaulting in because they've got a little beeper on the other side of the single doorway by printer, or single window by printer. Otherwise, it's all covered in towards the actual break room itself. So TSM, they've already found themselves down about, what, 90 seconds here? Finally, Eclipse will drop away, but a good amount of time invested by TSM, which ultimately yields no kills.
Pamba just going to keep himself in the staff room for now, holding those angles. He knows that there's one potentially going to push in through window. I think he's very aware of that. The question now is, how long does he remain for? How long does he hold on to this? He's going to be drawn out again. The challenge is likely to come. One on window finds him. It's going to be achieved to get the opener there. And that gives TSM the entry and the start that they needed. That gives them open office. It gives them staff area. And now they can start working towards site. They've got a minute to do it, which is plenty of time. DarkZero have now all been forced back.
It's like being in a playground as a kid, isn't it? For Achieved, you walk in and just see like 3 armor panels and a bunch of softballs that need smashing open. It's like, woo! Go nuts with the hammer. Hatches opened up. They've now got visibility on the site and 45 seconds to play with. So lots still to work with here on the side of TSM. For DarkZero, it's going to be batten down the hatches. Not literally, they can't, of course, can't do that. But they've got 3 smoke canisters to play behind. They've got a C4. They have the tools to play with, but they've got to hit their shots because the last couple of rounds, they've basically hit none.
Merc's going to drop the elevator here. He's going to look to move into Vault. There is one playing in behind the wall there. The drone does find him. Hits the castle of Eclipse. A shot from Merc to take down Hyper. Canadian does find Bolo, though, as he tries to return to site from the garage. But Merc, he's just on a killing spree at the minute. Manages to find Eclipse. NJR's got him down. Won't necessarily know that.
Oh, no.
To NJR.
Oh, the shutdown.
It's the time. It's the time, Des. NJR in a 1v4 finds the only kill that he needs. And that is going to be the vital round that DarkZero needed. And they take bank. They take the matchup 2-1.
Beautiful series we've just had there, and it looked like a TSM comeback maybe on the cards. But they turn around in round 9, shut it down and take the series 2-1, as you say, Tim. Really, really enjoyed that. We see a lot of EU versus EU, but seeing a classic NA versus NA rivalry there, beautiful game.
Can't wait to watch that last round back and see just exactly where everybody was. I think I've only seen one player do that before, and it was Pino, and he was 1v5 up on the top floor of Cafe. But just finding the one kill that you need because of the clock. NJR played it absolutely beautifully, and I'd just like to see where he came from and where everybody else was.
He was playing underneath the lobby vault because the problem was they tried to get a drone through to see where he might be, but there was, of course, the player in vault. Yep. Right? Shoot out the drone. They've got no idea what's beyond Vault itself, so you have to hedge your bets and say, look, maybe we get away with this. Maybe there's not someone there. they were unfortunate enough to find out there was indeed someone there that ended it all for them.
I think he was 1v3. I got excited. I said 1v4. I think he was 1v3 at that point.
Yeah, details.
Canadian had killed Bolo and Merc went down, so it must have been 1v3, but still, I'm not taking it away from
He's in a losing situation.
Well played. You've just won the map for your team. It was absolutely brilliant. And it's those sorts of moments that just make me love this game as much as I do.
Think back to the classic shotgun open the wall, defuse the long arm through the wall.
Those big brain situations where a player just shows such focus and concentration. That's after 3 maps that he's still switched on enough to think there's only one thing I need to do here, and the ability to do it. Great.
I'll happily have a hell of a lot more than that moving forwards as well. That really spices this group up, as we've said, because TSM get the 1 point, they move on to 7. DarkZero go to 4. They get the 3-0 tomorrow. They'll have the head-to-head against TSM, who if TSM also lose means DarkZero could be number 1 in this group.
Imagine the timeline where that happened.
3 hours ago, we were talking about them getting knocked out of the group, and now they've got a spot to be number 1. That's just how crazy this group has become.
It's been wild. Simple as that.
Absolutely love it, and I can't wait to see more of it moving forwards as well. But that ends all of our festivities for today in terms of the games. But stay around, our analysts are going to break this down for you in what has been a belter of a series. See you.